way of Facebook as usual. Please go ahead and hit your share button. Go ahead and hit your share button and let us quickly get over 1,000 people populating the platform in the next 5 minutes. Hit your share button, ladies and gentlemen. Referendum versus mediation. Which one can bring us independence quicker? That is the main subject of the day, and I have a guest with me, ladies and gentlemen, who has been trying to sell us the idea of a referendum here on ABS. We listen to every shade of opinion. We leave it for you out there to decide, to have the final say. And so that debate is coming up. And then today, just about coming up live, the outgoing president, Dr. Samuel Ekome Sako, put out a new list, of cabinet changes. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about the voracious campaign, ladies and gentlemen, of motions of support. A campaign of motions for support that is making the round all over your counties and your LGAs. I'm going to be having my guests to also weigh in on that. That is what I bring to you today. And do not forget also, of course, the Amber Peace Plan meeting that comes up tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Hit your share button. Right now, I said hit your share button. I will write back in 1 minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in again. Thank you for joining the broadcast today. For all of you fans of ABS, Africa Broadcasting Service, I'd like you to go ahead again, hit your share button. For those of you joining by way of Facebook, we're going to be talking about the Sarko's appointment, cabinet appointments that he just made today. We're going to also be talking about the efforts to get county chairs ejected, county chairs who are not supporting him ejected, and the effort to get Ambazonian fighters on ground zero to send in motions of support. Some counties are already being coerced to send in motions of support. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're going to be talking about that, but we're also going to be talking about a very, very important subject, referendum versus mediation or negotiations. It is a topic that has been out there with debate as to whether we should be talking about a referendum now. Should we even be talking about a referendum now? Is it necessary? Do we need it now? So that is a subject that we're going to be discussing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But please go ahead, quickly hit your share button, let them know. The anchor man is not live, but alive. In spite of all the bullets from left and right, front and back, let them know, ladies and gentlemen, the anchor man is live. Let them know the anchor man is live. So please quickly hit your share button, ladies and gentlemen. Just a quick reminder to all the Ambazonian restoration forces in Ground Zero, in FACO in particular. Thank you for the great job, ladies and gentlemen, the great job you guys are doing out there. We saw what you did in the was it Moyoka Ekona axis yesterday. That was wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so having said that, please, I see the numbers are jumping now. Keep on hitting that share button. Keep on hitting. I want to see 1,000 people right now within the next 5 minutes. We've gone half that already. Hit your share button, ladies and gentlemen. While you do so, let us get into the issues. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a heated debate. All over social media in different fora as to whether we should call for a referendum or appeal for a referendum over the subject, the debate, the conflict on the actualization of the independence of the Southern Cameroons. This debate started in the interim government cabinet. I know we debated this for quite a while. It was quite heated, and some of us were very opposed. And some of us, why we did not totally reject the idea of a referendum, we felt very, very strongly that it isn't time to even think about that, talking about it. But that debate has since spread to all the other fora. I have seen it, and there is now a group out there formed or created to champion the idea of a referendum in the international community towards Ambazonian independence if mediation is not happening as quickly as many people expected. And the one person championing that debate out there, ladies and gentlemen, is somebody that you may not have seen. You may not have seen a lot, but I am sure you have read so much from him. You have read so much from him, and he is not just an Ambazonian, he is somebody who has been in the middle of the struggle for Ambazonians' independence for the longest of time that you can think of. In fact, he spearheaded the case in the Banjul against La République du Cameroon. We're going to be talking about that a little bit, and that case was indeed a success. He has written a lot, not just within the fort, but also to international organizations pleading the case for Ambazonia's independence. He is also a member of the interim government's cabinet, but equally, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, an advisor to the outgoing president, Dr. Samuel Ekome Sako. I am here referring to the one and only Denis Atem. Hello, sir. Great to have you here. I cannot hear you, sir. It appears, go on now.
Uh,
Okay, I can hear you.
yes, thank you very much for inviting me to your platform. I hope that we shall have time to discuss the referendum and many other issues that may come up during this discussion. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining me, and we're going to delve straight into the issue. Now, you have talked about the need for a referendum, and now you are championing a movement calling for a referendum for Ambazonians. Now, many people will say we had a referendum before. Why is it very, very important now? Why should we not wait for a mediated, negotiated settlement?
Mr. Anu, I know that we had a referendum before. Rather, let me call it a plebiscite in 1961. As I've explained before, that plebiscite was in fact framed against us because our people never wanted to join Nigeria or La République du Cameroon. They wanted to have a state of their own, but they forced them into a referendum, asked them questions which definitely defeated them because whichever way they voted, they were going to be tied to some country that they did not want to be part of, either Nigeria or La République du Cameroon. And the result of that plebiscite has led to this war that we have today. So I believe that another plebiscite, another referendum in the Southern Cameroons is appropriate because it would be a great way to correct the mistakes that were done in 1961. Besides that, I have explained to our people that there is no rule anywhere in the world that you can only conduct one referendum. I mentioned that Quebec has had two. Scotland had one in 2014. They're asking for another one. Djibouti had three, and so on and so forth.
And Canada
So we
actually
should
had a
rest
number of them
assured.
too.
Exactly. So we should rest assured that it is totally within our right and as a universal solution. I keep reminding our people that our case is not the first, it will not be the last. In all cases where there has been fighting for self determination, it has ended up always in being resolved through a referendum. So, a referendum is a tried and tested formula for resolving cases like our own. So I believe that now everybody understands that a referendum is not something new and that we need another one to resolve this problem.
Yeah, yes, we may need another one to resolve it. The problem that many people see in this referendum advocacy at the moment is that the time is wrong.
Chris, when people are being slaughtered on a daily basis, people are suffering on a daily basis, people are fighting on a daily basis, it can never be too soon to talk about peace. I've explained that this war is being sustained by a few warmongers in La République du Cameroon. Have you noticed that they have been unable to organize a poll in their own country to know the number of their own citizens that are supporting this war? If they were to organize an opinion poll in that country, they will see that it is only a very small minority that is supporting that war. The rest, this war is being sustained by a few people who are making money, who are profiting from keeping the war going. So, Why should we let our minds be controlled by such
That
people?
is
Tell
true.
me.
However, that is true.
Yes.
However, many people would say, why can't we first of all exhaust the mediation process? Then, when we hit the wall, then maybe we can talk about a referendum.
I totally agree with you, but you know, the issue with the mediation is that it has never taken off. The mediation has never taken off. The Swiss, who are supposed to be in the middle, have no leverage to move La République to Cameroon.
So
And so, if we are putting
I
down,
agree with you, I agree with you.
right,
However, if
right,
the if the negotiation has never taken off, and you need these same international partners to endorse a referendum, why do you think a referendum would take off?
because it is a solution that the West, the only people who have been interested in this conflict, cannot refuse. If you look at the West, you look at the United States, you look at France, you look at Britain, all of them have given into referenda. France organized a referendum in Nigeria. It has accepted a referendum in French Caledonia, and so on. It has supported the referenda in Quebec. So why would France now suddenly oppose our own referendum? Britain has allowed Scotland to review its relationship with Britain by with the United Kingdom through a referendum. Why should it oppose our own? The fact is that the Western system is based on the will of the people. And therefore, we have been talking about dialogue, but dialogue is a vague solution because, you know, I am thinking that if we were even to go to this dialogue, we will just end up laying down an agenda for the next step of the dialogue because it is not in this dialogue that we can talk about even the separation process. So there will be a dialogue in two steps. First, a step where you discuss about other issues. Maybe a referendum can emerge in that dialogue. And in that dialogue now, nothing can be discussed about terms of separation because you don't know where the people will vote. So it is after that dialogue where the referendum is agreed upon, and after the referendum, then you can now go to the other step of the dialogue where you deal with the issues that depend on the referendum. So, for example, if it were the Federalists that won in the referendum, those who were championing the Federalist position will now negotiate with the Federation, with La République de Cameroon. If it is independentists that win, independentists will be the one now to sit down with La République de Cameroon and negotiate the terms of separation. So, therefore, in this Swiss initiative or any dialogue that came before that, that matter cannot be discussed. I do totally agree with you that for a referendum to take place, there must be some form of negotiation. But what is important is that you have put down a concrete solution that can resolve that matter. We are using the word mediation, dialogue, and so on. People don't know. If the international community were to come now in any dialogue or mediation that you hold with La République du Cameroon today and corner you, what will you say? So the more we delay to put down a concrete solution that nobody can refuse, the more you allow them to cook up their own solutions and impose on our people. And we are saying no, we should not do that. We should not allow the international community, La République de Cameroon and its allies, to cook up their own solution and impose on us before we start firefighting. Just like they did with the special
The
status.
problem though,
Yes,
the problem
right?
there is, uh, La République du Cameroon knows you put a referendum together, Ambazonians will vote to go. And of course, the international community, you know, the African Union would need the go ahead from La République du Cameroon to agree to a referendum. Why do you think La République du Cameroon will say, hey, all right, you go and vote, let's see who wants to live in Ambazonia?
I can assure you, Chris, that La République du Cameroon has no other dignified option, has no other honorable
But
option
there is
than to
nothing
accept
like
a
dignity in
referendum.
La République du
Oh
Cameroon. If they
yes,
had
oh yes,
dignity, they wouldn't be
oh
killing
colonial masters,
30,000
oh
people
yes,
when people
oh
are
yes,
saying,
oh
sit down
colonial
and
masters
talk.
did exactly the same. Oh yes, Chris, all colonial masters did exactly the same. You see how many years France fought Algeria. You see how many years Indonesia fought East Timor. You see how many years Ethiopia fought Eritrea. All of them began by saying we shall never accept these people to go. But all of them finally accepted a referendum. All of them without exception. All of them. So
So
all colonialists
are you
always
saying
begin.
that
Yes.
we should be focused right now more on trying to see we can get a referendum?
No, a referendum is first and foremost a concrete solution that will end this war. It will end this war, not only end the war, but end the war justly. Why? Because you see, when you talk about a referendum, you are saying that federalists, yes, we respect your opinion. Unionists, yes, we respect your opinion. Independentists, yes, we respect your opinion. But our people, the people of Ambazonia, the people of the Southern Cameroons, will be the judge. You get the point? The people
Well,
of the Southern
I
Cameroons will
get
be
the
the
point,
judge.
but I think I disagree a little bit because I think the people of Ambazonia have overwhelmingly expressed their opinion for a free and independent country on the September 22, 2017, and again they reaffirmed that October the same year. And this war has now been going on for over 5 years because Ambazonians picked up arms to defend that position. Why do they need a referendum? Why can't the world not just come sit on the
Yes.
table and negotiate the terms of separation?
Because in the international community, in international law, the activities of nationalists are not regarded as representing the people. The people must speak, and the only way the people speak is through a referendum. If I am an independentist, if I take up my gun today and start fighting for our country, that is a national feeling I have. It is not the people who elected me to represent them. You get the point? So, independentists, no matter how they feel that they are speaking for the people of the Southern Cameroon, cannot be regarded as speaking for the Southern Cameroon until the people of the Southern Cameroon themselves speak. You must understand that.
So
And
why
that makes
not?
all the difference.
Why not
Yes?
allow the La République du Cameroon to make that argument? Because I don't think Ambazonians have a problem with that
No.
argument. Let it be
No,
the argument of La République du Cameroon that we don't know who to talk to, right? They are federalists, there are independentists, there are one Cameroonese, and so on. I think that should be their argument and not the argument coming from
no.
our side.
I totally agree with you to some extent because you saw what Nagy said. He was saying that we come in divergent voices, everybody is saying their own thing, there's no unified front. This one solution unifies everybody. Nobody will be able ever after to make an argument that Ambazonians are divided because Ambazonians have put down one single solution that everybody will agree upon. So, the other thing you mentioned is why should La République propose to us? I have explained to you that insofar as there is war, insofar as people are suffering, insofar as people are fighting, nobody should tell you that you have no right to put down a solution that will end that war. No. If that is why we ask the question, if you were given the option of a referendum today for Ambazonia and continuing the war indefinitely, which one will you choose? Will you choose to end A or will you choose to continue fighting indefinitely? That is the fundamental question. Because we believe that if war can be ended today, it should be ended today, not tomorrow. This is our position. We do that not because we're afraid of war, but because we know the consequences of war and we believe in peace and justice. We will continue to fight only if there is no other way to bring the enemy to the table. But we are putting down the argument of a referendum because that is the most rational argument, even to the enemy. Because no matter how long the enemy fights, the enemy will finally accept a referendum. What will it accept if it doesn't accept a referendum?
I
You tell
think
me.
I think we agree on a referendum because, as I said earlier, I believe it's one of the logical way by which we'll bring this to an end, so that amongst us, the federalists, the independentists, and the one Cameroonians or one Cameroonese, that division can be put on the table and people vote, choose where they belong. However, if you are talking about a referendum now and they are saying no, what do you do? Because I was taking the other way around. Let's get out there. Let La République du Cameroun say, no, they are in factions. We don't know who to talk to, or we don't know which argument to follow. And that is only at that point we can say, okay, if you don't know whether they want independence because there are federalists and unitarilists, so why not call a referendum? We are not there yet because that argument is not on the table. Why can't we again follow the logical process of mediation? Get La République du Cameroun to make the case, and we challenge them with a referendum.
Yes, Chris, putting down a referendum is already a major item on any agenda that we're going to discuss with La République du Cameroun. It is true that La République du Cameroun has to accept the proposal for a referendum before it is heard. But putting down a concrete solution enables our people even to begin to think about all the things that a referendum entails. You can imagine that some people have said to me, oh, we have had opinion polls. That's enough. That represents a referendum. It tells you that they don't have any idea about what a referendum is. So putting down the idea of a referendum now wakes up our people to start thinking about La République's rigging process, studying it, and seeing all the other issues, because there will be issues of eligibility, there will be issues of the credentials that you must have to work in the referendum as a referendum staff. There will be issues of the period during which we need a ceasefire before the referendum holds. There will be so many issues. And all of those issues can only be thought of clearly if we raise the issue on time and start thinking about those things, getting people to work on all these various aspects. We cannot sit there quietly, wait as the way we waited until La République comes and imposes special status when we don't have any alternative to put down. So it is to our own advantage, a major advantage for us to think about these things well in advance, prepare ourselves, write everything down clearly, understand
I don't think there is any problem in doing that,
Yes.
preparing for that ahead of time. However,
Right.
one of the problems I have seen with the proponents for a referendum now is that they're also
No,
hoping that
Chris, let me stop you there, Chris. We are not saying a referendum now. Once the principle is agreed upon, we are putting up a red card for La République saying, look, continue to kill the people because this will backfire on you when the moment comes for our people to air the opinion. Because they will do it, whether you like it or not. It will end with a referendum. And La République will pay a heavy price for continuing to torture our people, for continuing to kill. Let it say that it has the power, it has the guns to continue killing everybody. We have put up the red card through the referendum, telling La République du Cameroun that you will not get away with this when the moment comes for our people to express themselves. So, if you
and
can, you can
again, that
stop
is where I have a concern. I
it.
am strongly convicted that Ambazonians have already expressed themselves fighting, defending their territory and their right for independence for the past 5 years.
Yes, Chris. You see, Algeria fought for 9 years. East Timor for how many years? South Sudan for how many years? Eritrea for how many years? 5 years is a very short period compared to all these other struggles that
Correct.
were
But
mentioned.
we are talking
It's a
about
very
the
short period.
expression,
So I
the
am telling you,
resolve.
yes, I am telling you that 5 years is a short period compared to all these others. But we say to ourselves, the referendum proposal is available from the first day of the war. Why should we wait for 20 years of war before we put it down? Does that make sense to us? When there is a solution from the first day, to wait for 20 years of slaughter before we put down that solution? No,
I
we
think
have to put down
I
that
think
solution. Yes.
This is my thinking about that. I was thinking we
Right.
hold the referendum maybe as a last card where you get to the negotiation table and hear the normal talking point from La République du Cameroon. You see, you guys are here on this mediation table. They are so divided. They have federalists, they have independentists, they have separatists, as they will put it. And then at that moment, it makes a convincing argument to say, if you think that we are so divided as you say, why not give the people a referendum, right?
Now, Chris, let me ask you the simple question. Why would you let all of that happen? Why will you let the atrocities go on if you could propose a way by which they could be ended sooner rather than later? You tell
Because they
me
are
that.
not ready to buy that.
No, you are the one saying they are not ready. No, remember that I explained in another interview that currently the warmongers are controlling the power in La République du Cameroon, but it will not always be so. Because I have just told you that if they think those who are controlling this situation and prolonging this war have a right, let them conduct an opinion poll in that country and tell us how many of their own citizens are supporting this atrocious war. They will discover that it is a huge majority of the people who reject this heinous war that Paul Biya has declared on our people. So therefore, they are not. I
Are
repeat, I
you
tell
now
you.
talking
So
about a
therefore,
referendum are you now talking
yes, a
about a
referendum.
referendum in which
Yes,
La République du Cameroon
please.
citizens would have to vote?
Yes. No, no, of course not. How can they vote? That is ruled out.
So
But remember that
what does their supporting
you
or
are
not
also
supporting the war have to
you
do
are
with a
also
referendum?
educating their people to know that there is a concrete and honorable way out for them in this war. You're also educating their people and even making those who are inclined to peace realize that that animal there who is perpetrating this war need not do it because there's a solution for them. You get the point? Because there's a solution for them. We are
But don't
putting
they
down this
think they
solution
know
not
there is
only for
also a
Ambazonia.
solution going the mediation way?
No, that is an assumption. That is not a solution. Mediation dialogue, that is not a solution at all. Do not be, look,
I mean,
Chris,
but
let me
how can you
remind
say
you,
that when you know
no,
that even the
Chris,
cases you quoted, Eritrea and
Chris,
so on, I mean, they ended the war through mediation.
no, Chris, let me remind you, mediation that you are talking about, I've explained to you that it will not necessarily lead to any peace. No, because we are not even known the outcome of any mediation or dialogue with La République du Cameroon. Let me just remind you, Tibo Nagy kept telling us that the last thing Africa needs is another small poor state. He kept contradicting the principles of the United Nations at every turn that he spoke. Now, tell me, we are counting on the United States as a supporter of freedom. How can they start talking about the outcome of a dialogue when they say they support the Swiss talk? How can they be talking about the last thing that Africa needs? Why don't they wait the result of the dialogue before they speak? So it tells you that you may just be accepting dialogue, mediation, and so on, only to go in that dialogue and find out that all those people have ganged up against you. And when you leave that dialogue, they will tell you that, oh, you are extremists, you refuse to
Well,
give
but
up
of course
anything.
we
They will
understand
now say,
that,
no,
but
listen, Chris,
we
the
understand that,
consequences
but
will
they're
be
not
great.
gonna
No,
force
Chris,
they're not gonna
no,
force the
listen,
results
Chris.
upon us, isn't it? If you were
Oh
sitting,
no, oh
if you
no,
were
oh
sitting
no,
in
oh
that
no.
on that table with the rest of the mediators and the other parties, would they force you to say you have to accept
Oh
what we are
no, oh
telling you?
no. Please, you have seen we keep loitering behind the West to support this matter because we know that they are the only people in the world who can do anything about this situation. So
But you
if
also have to
you
understand that when you talk about a referendum, you are talking about canvassing support from the West also.
Yes, I'm canvassing support from the West, but it is a known and tested process. You get the point. It is not an open option kind of thing that you get into dialogue and you're talking about everything. They say, oh, you have to give up something here, you have to give something there. It is a give and take. We are not going to any dialogue to give anything about our state. The Republic has not 1 inch of our territory legally. We must understand that. And therefore, if you are going to dialogue and they go into that dialogue and say, what are you going to give to La République du Cameroon? What is your own point of exchange? What are you going to do? So when you go there, they will say, "Oh, they were very intransigent. They didn't want to. They wanted only this. They wanted." Only... Therefore, let us put down the principle very clear. We at this point we are telling the West that look, even though La République du Cameroon has no right whatsoever over our territory, we are willing to submerge our claim to our territory to put the matter to the supreme law. That supreme law is the mouth, the will of our people. We are
Okay.
willing to do that. Yes.
Granted that we accept that. How do you go about it?
Yeah.
Where is the starting point?
The starting point is the education that we are already doing. When we convince our people and they see that there is this need to do it, now from that point now, we will start looking for an intermediary who can now introduce dialogue between the two sides on this matter. Through that, we may arrive at some kind of consensus where we are talking to each other, even though the war is going on. There is some kind of clear dialogue between the two sides because there's a clear solution to talk about.
I
Because
don't, I don't get the
without a clear
point of
solution
some
to talk
dialogue
about,
between the two sides. You are assuming that La République
yes,
will
I am
immediately
saying that.
accept the idea, I guess.
No, not immediately. Not immediately. They behave like all colonial masters. I've told you that.
So
Colonialism is
what I want to know is the
it's a system
approach.
of
The
violence.
approach. Forget about education to our people. We're gonna get.
Yes,
They definitely will
because
be
you have to do that.
educated. But how do you approach La République du Cameroon and the international community
That is why
for
I
this
am talking
referendum?
of a third party. That is why I'm talking of a third party after the proper education of our own people to understand what a referendum is, to ask all the questions and resolve them, to think about the processes that will be involved. And now you need a third party who will mediate between the two sides, who will say, look, now we have a concrete solution from one side. Can this other side accept that concrete solution? That is how it will go. That is how it will be. You cannot go to the other side without a concrete solution that will end this war. And as I've told you, dialogue is not a solution at all. But a referendum is a solution because once that referendum takes place, everybody will bow to the will of our people. So you will need a third party who can now say, look, we now have a complete proposal from one of the parties. I will now submit this to the other party and we start from there, see whether the other party can accept. Now the other party now may make its own counter proposals and so on. This is how it always begins. This is how it
You
always
know
begins.
that talking about a referendum, you would have to start with convincing the UN, convincing the African Union, correct?
No, not necessarily. Look, the principle of a referendum is, the international system now is based on armed robbery. Let me call it that way because La République du Cameroun is an armed robber in the Southern Cameroons. Complete armed robber. When states steal, when states carry out armed robbery, we choose to label them with other names, give them palatable appellation. No, this is pure armed robbery because that country has not an inch of any right whatsoever over our territory. But the international world today is such that they watch with complete indifference. As long as one of the parties has not gotten tired, they just let you people, wear down yourselves in war. So nobody will care. So La Republic knows this. We also know this, and that is why our determination must never be weakened. Our determination to resist the enemy must never be weakened because from the beginning of the world, freedom has been fighting with oppression. Self determination has been fighting with foreign domination, and the results have always been the same. It is freedom that always wins, it is self determination that always wins. So, our people should rest assured that no matter how long this war lasts, they will win at the end of the day by being able to have a platform from which they can express themselves. So, this is cardinal for us to know. This is cardinal for us to know. So it's cardinal for us to know.
Yeah, I think there is also a movement on Ground Zero led by veteran journalist Victor Epie Ngome and a group of others. I don't know whether you are part of that. However, the concerns that people have expressed with the approach they are taking is They are trying to appeal to La Republique as if of trying to obtain permission for that to happen. Why should anybody even think of going to La Republique du Cameroon to ask them whether we should be a free people? Because that is essentially what it is about. Asking them whether we should be a free people. Is that one of the approaches that you have in mind? Consulting with La Republique du Cameroon?
Absolutely not. In fact, I was quite embarrassed with the idea that they should be calling themselves homegrown solution and trying to appeal to La Republique. That is the 1,000th application that have been made to La Republique de Cameroon. It is completely useless for anybody to go and approach La Republique. In fact, going to beg for the enemy to give you a solution. No, this is not what we're doing. The referendum option is not an option to go to the La République du Cameroon and beg. We are putting down a concrete solution that we can propose to those who are interested in this war. That look, one side has come up with a concrete solution that can end this war with justice and give La République dignity and honor. So we will pass only through a third party who can propose, who can take our proposal to the other side. We are not going to appeal to La République du Cameroon. No, we are not part of La République du Cameroon. We are not part of that country, and we will not go to their president to ask for anything. No, we will not. We will not. We will dialogue with them. We will talk to them as on an equal level. We are ready to talk to La République du Cameroon on how to end this war. We should be clear about that. But we are not going to appeal to them as their citizens. No. We are going to talk to La République du Cameroon as a separate country, appealing to them, look, gentlemen, you are killing us. You believe that you have the guns to kill us. If you are claiming title to our territory, you have never been able to prove it. Can you prove this title that you are claiming over the Southern Cameroons? Nobody, or in fact, our arguments have been beside the point. The only argument I expect from the people of the Southern Cameroons is to hold La République de Cameroon to prove its claim title over the Southern Cameroon. Don't leave that and go and talk about whether the referendum of 1972, this and that. No, those were simply amplifications of the annexation. They were not the causes of the war. So La République de Cameroon has absolutely no title. If you read Resolution 1608, you see in paragraph 5 that the United Nations recognizes that the plebiscite was not the complete expression of our self-determination. That is why it was calling for immediate action to be taken to implement the policies agreed between the parties before 1st of October 1961. So the United Nations itself recognizes that the plebiscite was not a final expression of our people. Until the policies agreed between the parties were implemented, only then could we say that the two parties had agreed. But there was no such thing. The paragraph 5 has never been implemented up to today. So we should not miss the point about this argument, my brother. The only argument we have is to say, La République du Cameroon, prove your title over our territory. Otherwise, no. We cannot go to the West and start talking about it. The only argument we should raise with the West is, has any of you, throughout your working period with La République du Cameroon, ever found any instrument which grants La République du Cameroon title over the Southern Cameroons? Is it a UN resolution? Show us that resolution. Is it a treaty? Show us that treaty. You get the point. That is the only argument that we should be putting down. We should not miss the point. And we have missed the point throughout.
Again, I don't think we have missed the point. I think, again, the problem is that of timing. However, one of the contentions putting together a referendum is, you know how corrupt La République du Cameroon is. They are the ones in charge of the ID system on the ground. Of course, they have had control for quite a number of years. You have a huge population of La République du Cameroon citizens in Ambazonia, almost all of Bamenda now, especially upstation and in Quen. It's made up of La République du Cameroon citizens. It's the same thing. in the vicinity of the Boya, Victoria, Tico axis, including, I mean, Francophones, they are buying lands everywhere, even in my county of Libialem. I learned they are buying lands, farmlands, plantation lands everywhere. So the question is, when you call for a referendum and the vote comes out, who is going to vote, sir, and who won't vote?
Chris, thank you for that question. But I want you and I want our people not simply to talk because we have a reference, my brother. We have a reference. All the past referenda that were organized through the support of the international community, we can go there and see how it was determined. In South Sudan, how was it done? In Eritrea, how was it done? In East Timor, how was it done? These were referenda in which the international communities was highly involved. Let me begin by explaining to our people that the colonial government never plays the same role it plays in its in the referendum as the one it plays in its domestic elections. Elecam will not be the one controlling the elections. The minister of territorial administration will not be the minister of territorial administration will not be the one controlling the elections. The sous-prefects will not be there to fill the boxes. First of all, the election is taking place only in our territory, so that rule that out. Now, if you study the La Republique's rigging mechanism, you see that there are two areas where, if you are able to get control of, then you can be sure that you have strangled them: the registration process and the results. Now, once we are able to control the registration process and control the results so that the results never get into the hands of any sous-prefect or a LECAM or whoever, the matter is finished
But why
there.
do you, but how do
Because you
you
see,
do that though
no,
when they
let,
still have
no,
control in the territory?
that
How do
is
you do
why
that?
I say that we are talking from the top of our heads because we are not going back to say let us study how it has happened in all these other places where
No, my question is, when you are
matters.
talking about taking it out of the hands of the sous-prefects and the mayors, the colonial mayors, colonial DOs, how do you do it when they still control the machinery on the ground?
No,
No,
you know,
hold on there.
yeah.
For 5 years,
Mhm.
we have not been able to set a certain kind of machinery on the ground that can relate to our people, the DOs, the colonial DOs and mayors and so on. They are still there. Given that somebody says go ahead and register people for a referendum, how do you do it in spite of their control over the people, the machinery?
No, we are believing that if the principle of a referendum is accepted by both sides, the United Nations will be heavily involved. In other areas, like in South Sudan, for example, the United Nations distributed the voting material. There was a referendum commission. There was an interval during which to prepare the territory to hold the referendum. You see, we have to define who has the right to campaign, even who has the right to vote. Eligibility has to be defined. In South Sudan, for example, they agreed that, okay, everybody who was resident in South Sudan from 1956 would be considered as having the right to vote. If you were born with both parents as South Sudanese or one of the parents as a South Sudanese, you will have the right to vote, and so on and so forth. This case of the Southern Cameroons is very unique in history. It is not like that of the South Sudan. So we have to define this all of these things that we're talking about ourselves. This is one of the most important reasons why we should put down that issue now so that our people should begin to study those processes. They should say eligibility. Who has a right to vote in a referendum if a referendum were to come today? We should define that by ourselves because these things will come up for negotiations once the enemy accepts the principle of a referendum. You get the point? These things must come up, and therefore we have to prepare our own documentation on how we think eligibility should be defined. You have mentioned that there are so many in our territory, but tell me, Chris, by how much do you think La Republic can inflate our population? By how much do you think La République can inflate our population? So there are a number of things. First of all, are we going to use La République de Cameroon's identity cards? No, of course not. So the registration process will be completely different. We may agree amongst ourselves to say, okay, the best way to eliminate infiltration is to go on an LGA by LGA basis so that everybody should register in their own LGAs. By everybody, I don't mean those who are in the diaspora. I mean all Southern Cameroonians in the Southern Cameroons and in La République du Cameroon. We could say all everybody
The
in these two
question you
countries
have
will
not
register.
answered, though,
Yes,
is
yes, yes,
without
yes.
any machinery for us on the ground. We don't have any structures like we have in the
No, this
diaspora,
no no
county
no.
by county and
This is
age.
why
We don't have
no,
those
you did not
structures
get
on the
me.
ground.
No,
How do you
Chris,
go
I'm see.
to the villages and LGAs trying to
No,
take those
Chris,
records
Chris.
without that machinery?
No, once the principle is accepted, the negotiations will happen together with the international community, laying down the process by which a fair and free referendum will take place. It cannot just be any kind of referendum, of course. It must be a free and fair referendum, and the terms must be such that it will be fair and free. And as I was referring you to the previous cases, from the previous cases, you will see what has been done. You will see the safeguards that were put in place to ensure that the people who were fighting for self-determination actually had the freedom to express themselves. You get the point. You will be able to see from there. So this is why I'm saying that it is critically important that we put down these things so that our people know that our case is not new. We are not the first people fighting for self determination.
But let
We
me
are not
ask
the
you
first
this.
people whose
Don't
case
you
will be
think that
resolved through a referendum.
don't you think that intensified firepower on the ground is the answer to whether mediation or referendum?
I totally agree, Chris. I totally agree. I have said repeatedly that in wartime, there are people who are fighting and there are people who are talking. There is diplomacy. Diplomacy is not part of the war process. But in this case, for example, the biggest diplomacy we have is our ability to resist the enemy fully and firmly. So we must not relent on our self defense. We must not mitigate anything against the enemy because all colonial masters behave alike. Go back to the liberation of Africa. You saw how they fought because colonialism is a state of mind. It never believes that you who are weak, you have a right to anything. It is a system of violence on the bodies and soul of human beings. So once that state of mind possesses a person, he sees only his guns with which he can kill. He doesn't reason anymore. Whatever you say, he says, I have the gun to kill them. I have my soldiers. I have machine guns. I have tanks. That is all they see. They count on the ammunition. They don't count on reason anymore. But once the principle of a referendum is accepted, the argument of force will give way to the force of argument. Everybody now will be free to go and explain their own point of view to their people. And that requires an intermediate period during which there is no fighting. Because the principle of a referendum brings about a ceasefire on its own. Because once that principle is agreed, whether you like it or not, both sides will see that it is no more useful to go about killing people, to go about intimidating, to go about burning villages, because the decision will be made by the people on the ground. The decision will be based on the people's will. So a referendum in itself will bring about a ceasefire. So let us understand this process very well, my brother, that once a referendum is agreed upon, we will negotiate the terms with the enemy. Let us be clear about that, together with the international community. It will not be a bilateral negotiation between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. No, it will be a negotiation involving the international community on the best way by which our people can express themselves freely. And that has already been done in several other places. Our own is not new. We will just be replicating the processes that have taken place in other places. Let us agree on that. So whether La Republique is controlling anything on the ground now, it will not control those things when the moment comes. You see, it will not control those things when the moment comes.
Well, we have to wait and see what goes on, what transpire in the course of time. I will stick with my argument that referendum should be the last card
Now, Chris, let me ask you a question, Chris.
on the table.
Chris, let me ask you a question. Tell me, what if you are procrastinating about a referendum and La Republique is the first to say, okay, let's go on a referendum and see whether your people don't want to continue to be with us? What will you say?
Of
Will you run
course,
away
I
at
will
that point?
take it for as long as he is going to
But then
have.
how will you take it
No,
now
no,
that
no,
you're
no,
giving
listen.
me your
I will
argument?
take it for as long as they are going to have nothing, zero, to do with the conduct of that referendum. However, they're not ready to say so. If they would have said so
No.
a few months, a few
No,
years behind.
I am telling our people that this so-called rigging mechanism that people are so afraid of, when you study it, you see where you can puncture it, my brother. You see it. People are just afraid. They are saying, oh, La Republique. In fact, let me remind you that in 1992, I was able to puncture La Republique's rigging mechanism in the BLM. I was able to puncture
Yeah,
it.
no,
It is not a
yeah, but
process
that
that
was
is
in little
peaceful.
LBLM,
Yes.
small
Yes, you
LBLM.
can
How
call it
about
that way.
Meme? How
Call
about
it whatever way
Mezam?
you like.
How about
Describe it in
Bui?
whichever way
How
you
about
like. But
Manu?
it is still the same process. As long as they don't control the results, they don't control the registration process, you can be fairly sure that you have a handle on the process. I
Well,
can tell you
we
that.
will,
As long as they don't control the
when
results.
we get
Yes.
there, we will cross that
We
door.
will get there. We will
Until
get
when we
there.
get
We will
there,
get there.
let's
We will
keep
get
on
there.
with
Definitely.
firepower and make sure that every economic asset of La Republique du Cameroon on ground zero is raised. Make sure that anything wearing La
Yes.
Republique du Cameroon
And
military,
for
gendarme, police
firepower,
uniform is erased. Make sure that
no,
anybody,
Chris,
those so-called CPDML lead, pushing the Republic to Cameroon agenda, will make sure we get them out of the way. For now, I think this is the way to go, because I bet you La Republic knows you call for a referendum. They will never accept it, because Ambazonians are ready. You wake them up in the
no,
morning, they want to
please,
go. They're ready to go.
please, let me tell you, in 1999, Paul Biya himself proposed a referendum. He said to Francois Soudan of Jeune Afrique that, look, it is only a very small minority of Anglophones who are talking about separation. He is willing to conduct a referendum to prove that. He himself proposed it in 1999. Yes. So it is
Well,
not something
if
new.
I
We are
think if
not
you were
bringing
serious, you would have gone for one already. Let's end that subject there. As we progress, we will get back to it. We know where things stand. But let me take you to a
right.
different subject, which has to do with the current state of the interim government, to which you have been a very integral part. Again, you have been one of the advisors to the outgoing president, Dr. Samuel Ekome Sako. The Restoration Council came out with a number of documents in the past 2 weeks. One, asking the president not to reshuffle cabinet, make any changes. We have seen the president violate that document. The Restoration Council has also come out to say that they are going to give the outgoing president 6 months, within which or after which to conduct elections. The president is violating those articles from the Restoration Council. Now, he went ahead and appointed a new vice president. We are learning today he has also changed some cabinet positions. You are a constitutionalist for as long as I've known you. You studied the constitutions. I think you also, correct this if I'm wrong, you participated in the writing of the current interim constitution of Ambazonia. Am I correct?
No, not actually. Not. They might have used something that Robert did not participate. I did not.
But you have read it
I did
very, very detailedly.
No, not actually detailing, because in nation it's very difficult for people to abide by any law. Um, I know what is going on. Uh, I have been one of those who seized the Restoration Council on three different occasions to call the attention to the confusion that was going on in the struggle. My reason for calling on the Restoration Council was to make it sit up and do its duty. You know, the only thing that
Make what
distinguishes
is sit up.
the Restoration Council,
Okay.
the only thing that distinguishes an institution of the Ambazonian people from a private group, from any of those other liberation movements that was formed by a private individual, is the fact that the institutions of Ambazonia are governed by law. And it is the place of the Restoration Council to make those laws known to the people of Ambazonia. That was my greatest concern, because I called the attention to the fact that they were responsible for the chaos that was going on, because they had not made the rules that are governing the interim government known to the people. Because I said to myself, if everybody knows that the interim government is governed by law, and these are the laws that govern the interim government, why would people break away to go and form their own private groups and so on? So, first
Right.
of all, just laying down the rules will be a very strong unifying factor. Every Ambazonian who believes in the law will know that I can go and contest these elections, I can contribute if there is anything going wrong. But as long as they did not do that, things were going wrong. And I also warned them that the fact that I was saying that did not mean that I was calling for any immediate election, because to do elections, you must prepare the ground, you must lay down the rules, and the people must know those rules, and so on and so forth. Uh, After some time, I think they realized that what I was saying made some sense, and they acted. They were also planning to act on their own, even without my advice. Um, Things have gotten to where they are. Unfortunately, if you have read my manifesto, you know that I don't talk about Ambazonian issues that concern individuals in public. No. I can advise individuals, but I will not venture to talk about these issues, because for me, these are issues that should be discussed in house, not in public. We should not wash our dirty linen in public. We should not even attack anybody in public. And then not even attack in public. We should not attack anybody. Yes, when things are going wrong, we should lie in our bed, think about it. If we can talk to the person who is responsible, we talk to that person. But it is absolutely, for me, not
But people are
important.
asking people like you who have been advising the president, the outgoing president, Dr. Sako, for the past 2 years or more. What were you telling him all these years that he now jumps up and say, I can't stand elections. I don't recognize the Constitution. He calls the chair of the Restoration Council names. He contravened every recommendation of the Restoration Council. People will be asking people like you, what are you advising him in all these things?
Yes, you're right. You're right. But we ourselves have also asked him what people will say we were advising him about,
Right.
because the reality of the matter is that the advisory council was not very functional, because, of course, there were issues and there were things that I don't want to discuss in public, as I've said, but it was not very functional. And we ourselves raised that issue, that look, tomorrow people will say we were advisors and things were going wrong. We are responsible also for the things that are going wrong. And we raised that, and we tried as much as possible to ensure that we're able to do our duties, that we're able to guide the government as necessary, but things did not work out the way they would ordinarily work out. And to some extent, I don't condone violation of any law, because I believe strongly that the only way Ambazonia will be safe and will grow and will prosper is if all of us abide by the laws of Ambazonia. And that is why I kept telling everybody that you can disagree with Sako, you can do what, but he did not put himself there. He was put there by the people of Ambazonia. So people can disagree with him and say whatever they like, but he represented the government of Ambazonia as far as he was put there by the people of Ambazonia. So, what is necessary is to lay down the rules by which we can evaluate the performance of each government and do elections because there is. I told the Restoration Council that if we are to prosper in Ambazonia, it should not just be people get up and make a lot of noise and then to deceive the people and come and stand. No, we must be able to lay down the criteria by which we evaluate the performance of people. Whether you are president, whether you're whoever, they should be
But
clearly
what are
laid down.
you advising the
So,
president when he is doing the things that the overwhelming majority out there are saying it is wrong? What are you advising? You sat on the advisory board, or what?
yes.
Or he
No.
wasn't consulting with you.
I said that the advisory board was never able to function very well.
Okay.
When you appoint people to advise you, you must be the one to say, look, I need your advice on A and B. An advisor does not just simply come to you and say, look, this is how I think you should be doing this. If you come to them for advice, they should be able to give you. Maybe it was expected that we will, on our own initiative, take advice to him to say, look, on this matter, this is the way we think you should behave or you should act. But we were not consulted on many of those other issues, and we ourselves raised those objections. And unfortunately, things have come out to be what they are, and we take part of the blame because maybe if we had taken upon ourselves to read the issues and go and say, Mr. President, we think that on this matter, this is the way we think it should go, this is the way we think it should go, maybe things would have changed, but it was never like that. We expected that he will seek our advice when he needed it, and he will not seek when he does not need it. That's how we took the matter.
When the Restoration Council wrote on a number of occasions, I don't know whether you were in that meeting. The meeting convened I think about a month ago by the Restoration Council, in which they essentially indicted Dr. Sako, stating that every time they have made recommendations, they mentioned particularly FACO, they made recommendations for the president to follow. He kicks them away. He doesn't follow them. He assumes that the Restoration Council is asking for his opinion. Now, when these recommendations come from the Restoration Council, are you consulted at the advisory committee to the president?
No, we were not consulted about those issues.
Were you ever consulted on any national position the president would take?
Of course, we were consulted on some issues, but when you give your advice, it's only an advice. It has no binding force on the person you're giving the advice to. So the person is free to either reject or use the advice. So that's how it is. That is not wrong. That is the way it should be. Because if you only provide advice, your advice is only advice. It's not any imposition, or it doesn't mean that that advice is correct according to the person who is asking it. The final word is that of the person who is asking the advice.
Now we now find ourselves in a position where we want to act like La République du Cameroon, where we are trying to escape from. We see, I'm sure you have learned about it, you've seen some of it. We see motions of support coming from Mezam, motions of support coming from Momo, motions of support coming from Santa, and these are the same things we are running from. in La République du Cameroon. I'm dying to hear your take on this. When our own leaders are just rushing back to the same practice we are trying to run from. What is your take on this, sir?
Chris, you have asked a very important question, and let me correct you on this issue and many other people who make statements that you have made. No, we are not fighting because we want to be perfect. No, that is not the point.
No, I use the word
We are fighting. No,
running
listen to
from,
me.
escaping from.
Listen to me very well. No, listen to me very well. I want you to understand clearly that the reason why Ambazonia is fighting. Ambazonia is not fighting because when we get to Ambazonia, we will never repeat the things that La République de Cameroon is doing.
Are
No.
you endorsing
Ambazonia is
motions of support?
no, no, I am not endorsing it, but I want us to be clear about why we fight. We are not fighting because we will be perfect when we leave La République du Cameroon. We are fighting because nobody whatsoever has a right to take over your own house. No neighbor should come and say, Mr. Chris, I know you are small, you are weak. I will take over your own house, or deceive you that you should break the fence that separates your own house and the two houses should become one and confiscate your own. We are fighting La République du Cameroon to be our own masters, to have our own destiny, to eat our own shit. Let me put it that way. If we're eating shit, it should be our own, not that of La République du Cameroon.
But what is the
That is
difference
where
between
we're fighting.
our shit and the
Oh
shit coming
no,
from La
oh no,
République du
oh no, oh
Cameroon?
no.
Shit
Get
is
it
shit.
well. Get it well. Get it well. Get it well. You see, people can say, "Oh, this person has embezzled." Is that not? Why should we fight? If no, even if every Southern Cameroonian is embezzling, we will still be fighting to be free of foreign possession. Let us be clear about that before we talk about the issues that you have raised. And so I want us to be clear. We are not fighting because we will be perfect. We are fighting because we don't want foreign imposition. Yes, we want to make our own destiny. If our own destiny is that we will eat shit, let it be our own shit, let it be our own decision. That is what is called self
Again,
determination.
should is
Yes. It is
I
not
must
to
say I
say,
am
yes,
disappointed
I
hearing
want to
you
be clear
telling
about
me
that.
on television that we can just walk away from La République du Cameroon, but pick up what they did to us. They
No,
use
that's not what I'm saying.
their
Oh, yes,
elite to do
you know,
exactly what we are now
you know,
seeing. So why are we
and no,
fighting? Yes, we want freedom,
yes,
but what
I think
freedom with the
this
same?
is what I keep telling you. This is what I keep, yes. You know, Chris, you know, when you see somebody suffering and it is his own suffering, he cannot accept that you should come and control them. So I want us to distinguish between what we want as ourselves and what someone is imposing on us. It is the imposition of La République du Cameroon that we are rejecting. When we get to Ambazonia, even if we're having a coup d'etat, whatever, we will disagree, but it will be an internal disagreement in Ambazonia. It will not
So
be an
I
imposition
get
of La
your
République
point.
du Cameroon. Yes,
Are you endorsing
I
this
am
attitude?
not endorsing. I am not endorsing the idea of eliminating the evils that we complain about everywhere, including those imposed on us by La République du Cameroon, is there. We don't agree with any of those things, but I don't want us to mistaken the argument that oh, since there's someone has embezzled in Ambazonia, we better just remain with La République du Cameroon because that is the same thing we get there. No, it is
No,
not the
we are
same
not
thing we
saying we
get.
remain. I think you get the
Yes.
argument wrong.
Okay,
We
good,
are not
good.
saying we
I don't want to
remain
hear
in
that.
La
I
République
don't want
du
to hear that.
Cameroon. We are
I don't
saying
want
we
to hear
don't
that.
condone the same attitudes of La République du Cameroon. Change the persons.
Yes,
If I am the
I
one,
totally
take
agree
me
with that.
out.
I
Ambazonians should
totally
not
agree
have to
with that.
suffer my
I tot
greed.
yes, exactly. For that, I totally agree. But we should not link it to why we're fighting. No, we should
I
simply
think it
say that.
should because it derails
But
out as
no,
we
no,
see
no, no. We
now.
should. It is not the same thing. No, we should not the same thing. It is not the same thing at all. And I've heard many people continually make the argument that, oh, if this is what we are getting, why are we fighting to leave La République du Cameroon? We will continue to fight to leave La République du Cameroon as long as we perceive La République du Cameroon as an imposition on us. Yes, no matter the mistakes that we make in our own house, those will be our mistakes. Look, Chris, let me just mention to you. Now, at the time that Africa was fighting colonization, so many Africans were saying, look, the white man is a better organizer, is a better governor, is a better manager, he will make our economy grow and so on. The Africans did not accept it because that was a foreign imposition. The Africans did not accept it. We're in the same position in which Africans were when they were fighting against white domination. We are fighting against the domination of La République du Cameroon, irrespective of what we will be when we get to Ambazonia. We must make that clear. Irrespective of what we will be when we get to Ambazonia, we must fight a foreign domination of La République du Cameroon, irrespective of what we will be. We are not saying that we will allow evil to thrive in Ambazonia. We reject that by all means, but that is a separate thing from comparing our own internal struggle with the struggle imposed on us by foreigners.
Well, because the
That's
problem is our own
so
internal
we
struggle.
disagree.
Our
We
own internal
disagree.
struggle is beginning to look just like the same things we are trying to
It
avoid
can never
in
look the
La
same.
République
It
du
can never look
Cameroon.
the
They will
same,
be
my brother.
laughing at
I don't
us
want us to
if
link
we
the two.
cannot have leaders who stand up and do things, especially leaders living in advanced countries in America, in Europe, and they cannot do the right thing. That's the problem.
My
They
brother,
make a
yes,
mockery of us.
you know, our duty is to try to live the human being to live according to the law, but human beings are constantly failing, and I don't, by any means, encourage us to fail. But we must not realize, we must not act as if there is a push button somewhere that when you press, the human being will be perfect and we will always live according to the law. There is no such press button mechanism anywhere. So we should realize the processes that we are going through to improve ourselves as human beings, to improve our own society, to improve everything. You are living in America, you constantly hear the State of the Union. That is the process of human growth. So if we notice that there are things that are going wrong, let us not try to pull down the individual's concern. These are human problems that we must
Now,
address simply as problems, not as individuals.
I
No, it
just,
is not about Sabo. It is not about Mr. X. It's not about Mr. Y. It is simply a failing of the process. So let us ask ourselves, how can we improve this process without name calling, without pulling down anybody? It is not because Sako is doing it today that it is this or that. No, anybody who is there and does wrong, we have a duty to try to correct that person. We have a duty to reject what is wrong. We have a duty to
and
try
that is
to
exactly,
improve
I think
and
that's
maintain.
exactly what
Yes,
we are saying here,
exactly,
because when you
exactly,
don't reject
exactly.
what is wrong, we end up inheriting just what we are trying to avoid. But let me ask you,
All right, all
what
right.
would you advise, knowing what the Restoration Council is telling the president in two outings, two statements to do? You also, I'm sure, read the statement coming out from the county chairs telling the president, addressed to the president, we are taking back our counties. Pay your dues, pay your draft, pay your CID, pay it to us in the counties. What do you make of that?
Uh, the whole thing boils down to the rules that we want everybody to follow. Yes, the whole thing boils down to the rules that we want everybody to follow. Let us make those rules clear to everybody, and we try to hold everybody to abide by those rules. And if you violate those rules, we must lay down the process that you have to go through if you violate those rules. This is why I told you that what was important to me is for the Restoration Council to make it the rules governing the IG known to all Ambazonians and the processes by which those leaders will be evaluated and those leaders will be changed with time. Because, as we have said, this is a revolution. Yes, we are not calling for universal suffrage. That is why we have a Restoration Council. We are not calling for, in fact, if we put someone there and he just believed that he will continue as if he became a private group, that is terribly wrong because, as I've
But
said,
that
the
is
only
what
thing that
exactly what we are
distinguishes,
saying. That is exactly what we
yes,
are saying, and
exactly,
and that
it's
is why
not.
this debate is here. You know. I'm sure you read that letter. Two members of SACO's Judiciary Council wrote to the Restoration Council telling them this president has to rule till Boya. Of course, elections, they said no. Yet, these same people understand that they...
that cannot be.
Okay.
I totally disagree with those people. It cannot be like that. It cannot be like that. In fact, that is why I'm stressing on performance, because you see, if we put someone there who is unable to prosecute the war, who is unable to move the revolution forward, why should that person stay there? That person should not stay there. That is clear. But it cannot be done arbitrarily. The rules that lay down, if it says 2 years, the evaluation will take place, an election will take place at the end of 2 years, it should be so. If it says 3 years, at the end of 3 years, it should be so. We must learn to abide by the rules we lay down to govern ourselves. That is what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Nobody has the right to contravene those rules. Yes.
Thank you. Please stay put in there. I'm going to open the phone lines after a short monologue here. And after this short break, ladies and gentlemen, stay put. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to open the phone lines with a short monologue before they stay put. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying put in there. Now, this is very, very important. I promise you coming to you today with some detailed narrative of the issues, the problems that brought us to where this interim government is today. But I decided to change my mind for that subject, at least for today. I am hoping that I will be back with it, or maybe on Wednesday. I promise you I will be coming with that to explain to you exactly what is going on, and what has led us to where we are today in this interim government and in this struggle. I will bring you that information. But as you learn today, the outgoing president, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, once more contravened the instructions of coming from the Restoration Council, asking him not to make any appointments in the remaining time that they gave him. He came out, made some appointments. We have seen who those appointees are, ladies and gentlemen. Again, those appointees are nothing, ladies and gentlemen, but people who are in the ring, in the circle of the Bitcoin business. And I mean this. The person who has now been appointed into the national defense, Frank Chenye, is the one who is at the center of the Bitcoin business. In fact, Frank Chenye is the guy who put out the audio the other day linking yours truly to a business, the farm tool business connection that Dr. Sako declassified a week ago. Now, he is also the one who gets payments, make payments, signed by the president to many of the things that we know, ladies and gentlemen. He is the same one I mentioned yesterday that was being planned to take over from the current national treasurer. He now is in the position where he will be the one to manage all military defense expenditure. Ladies and gentlemen, again, that guy, the person is Frank Cheney. Frank Cheney. So, again, the other person who put out a letter 2 days ago indicted me for saying, just simply saying, that I went out for an audit, is the one who is appointed into the Department of Communication. Ladies and gentlemen, he is also in the ring, the Bitcoin ring. He is also within the Bitcoin little cartel there. There are other appointees. They are all surrogates. Fellow Ambazonians, this is important because, listen, let me say this, and that is why I am fighting for a change in the leadership of this interim government. It takes money to run this struggle. If Ambazonians, as we are already beginning to see, pulling their CIDs away and refusing to pay their draft money, if they refuse to support this struggle, the struggle is dead. For more than 3 years now, Dr. Sako operated my trip to Boya. It failed. We have had a draft in the past 1 year, and not much has been seen from what was done with the draft. People are asking to know what happened to the 20% that was going to the National Treasury, upon which the president was making requisitions. What happened to the president's basket? Ambazonians are dying to know what happened to it. What is happening to the CID and to Lava Storm and to the Federal Marshal Project? Ambazonians are dying to know, and they are now withdrawing their funds. They are now withdrawing their funds. And the counties are now telling the president, Mr. President, we don't trust you anymore to manage our financial resources. And they are asking their constituents, bring your money, your draft, your CID, pay it to your county, fall back to your county. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow Sako to continue staying there, making this appointment, inserting himself into authority, I bet you by this time next year, there may be no struggle. And I mean that. By this time next year, if you keep him, there may be no struggle, because Ambazonians no longer trust his ability to manage their financial resources, especially when you hear of this ring of investors who cannot explain to Ambazonians where they get this money to invest into digital currency. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the dilemma that lies ahead if you will endorse what the Restoration Council has rejected. If we respect our institutions, let us go by what the Restoration Council has put out and tell the outgoing president, listen, until now, the Restoration Council gave you 6 months. You have to wait and follow the procedure, follow the protocol, what they expect you to be doing, and not try to rush ahead, trying to consolidate power. We are also learning that on ground zero, there is infighting right now in ground zero among Ambazonian fighters, thanks to Dr. Sako for trying to get soldiers on ground zero to send him a motion of support. And there are soldiers who are saying, no, we are not politicians. We are soldiers. We just want to fight. So there is this division now that he is now taking to ground zero trying to get soldiers to send him, like in the order of La République du Cameroon, a motion of support. And the soldiers are saying, they are split, and they are saying, some are saying, we don't need a motion of support to anybody. We just need to focus on the war. But those that they have cornered are saying, we have to send a motion of support and asking the Restoration Council to make sure that there are no elections. This is what Dr. Sako is causing in this struggle. Ladies and gentlemen, in the diaspora, he is causing divisions. On ground zero, he is causing divisions. Please listen to the sound of my voice. The best way to solve this problem is disband this government, start from square one, set up new leadership. I said it before in the memo they call the coup memo. I said the best thing to do is disband this government. We need a government that brings results. In our diplomacy, we have not seen a single country that have said, ladies and gentlemen, that they can recognize us, they can endorse our cause, because the president doesn't go anywhere. Even in Washington, D.C., where you have the world's most powerful diplomat, the president doesn't get to them, hold no meetings with them, cannot even knock the doors of tribunals. Ladies and gentlemen, we need a reboot that brings back this struggle to a level where it functions, and if you entrust it into the hands of Dr. Sako going forward, ladies and gentlemen, this thing may be over. This thing may be over. Again, for one reason, Ambazonians no longer trust him to manage their money. Ambazonians no longer trust him to manage their money. So, I really hope that, again, Ambazonians, don't be cowed by this race for motions of support. Don't be cowed by the race for motions of support. You will see some counties that endorse that document. They are now rushing out because pressure is being exerted upon them. Mezam, for example, they have now just sent out a motion of support to the head of state. I see some LGAs are pulling out from the counties, ladies and gentlemen, putting out motions of support to the head of state. You see individuals, phone calls are being made everywhere. Eric Ate is literally calling people and begging them to intercede on his behalf for the Restoration Council to vote him. Remember, he was made the vice president the other day. He is literally making phone calls, begging people to call Elvis Cometa, the Restoration Council chair, to make sure that they approve his appointment as the vice president. The Restoration Council will be doing Ambazonians disservice, complete, total disservice, if they will go out to vote any appointee, ladies and gentlemen, of Dr. Sako, having put out a statement that reads, you cannot make any appointments at this time. So we are looking, Ambazonians are watching, looking at the Restoration Council to see. I understand they are meeting this Saturday. I hope that they come out with some answers to these problems. I have said yesterday, the Restoration Council is one of the reasons this struggle is in chaos, because the Restoration Council sits there and hold meetings upon meeting, and they do nothing. No decisions, ladies and gentlemen. When I took this issue to the Restoration Council, I was called in for interview, questioning. I went there, but the older lady who was supposed to be there, the Restoration Council said, you see, we cannot put out any statement because this lady is not willing to come in. She keeps on giving us appointments upon appointments and then canceling it, and we cannot put out a one-sided statement. That is true. But you could have put out a statement that say this lady is obstructing justice, investigation. You didn't do it. You did nothing. And now we are where we are today. Investigation upon investigation, no action. Now Ambazonians have put before you a motion of impeachment. We hope that you will talk about it tomorrow, Saturday. You don't talk about it on Saturday and come out with solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambazonians, you have this revolution in your hand. There will have to be a reboot. And let me say something to you that I hope you get it very, very clearly. Chris Anu is not interested in being the president of Ambazonia. Take that to the bank. I've never thought about it, dreamed about it, because I know it is unnecessary. I already put in so much time in this thing for the past 4 years. To take another one that will keep me just so busy ladies and gentlemen, take that to the bank. But I can assure you there must be change, a better leadership. A leadership that is pragmatic, a leadership that is proactive, a leadership that solves problems, not cover problems, not suppress problems, a leadership that is not bringing in business people to surround itself, do business with, ladies and gentlemen, your money out there. We need that change, and I will fight for it until it comes. And all of you out there, this is your struggle. This is your revolution. This is your government. If you want to allow that to happen, it is your trouble. Please, please, please. This is the moment every Ambazonian should rise up. We learned that Dr. Sako is calling for an APP meeting tomorrow. Now, don't forget, he banned the APP. He banned it. And when Ambazonia, the constituent, said, no, this APP is constitutional, you cannot ban it, you walked away, created another one. Now, when they called for a meeting last week at the regular APP, he too called for a meeting. Now, you heard that APP will be calling a meeting. Now, he is also calling for another APP meeting tomorrow. That is the APP he banned, ladies and gentlemen, he banned. We are asking every Ambazonian in there, do not go in there and legitimize that nonsense called APP of Dr. Samuel Ekome Sako. It is illegitimate. It is illegal. It does not represent Ambazonians. The counties have pulled out from his administration. The Restoration Council is saying to him, this is not the time for you to take certain decisions. And yet he just continues to do so. If we have institutions, let us respect those institutions. I have heard again and again and again, nobody is indispensable in this struggle. And I hope, and I just really hope, Dr. Samuel Sako understand he is indispensable, ladies and gentlemen, at this time. He is dispensable at this time of this struggle. And please, you cannot legitimize it. This motion, and let us note, the people who are writing motions of support, any county, any LGA, putting out motions of support like in La République du Cameroon to this outgoing government, no dime. The people of that county should give no dime. The people of that LGA should give no dime to those leaders. They should seek to change those leaders in those counties. One thing I forgot to also mention, what is happening is that the clique surrounding the president, they are trying really, really hard to replace every county leader, replace the LGA leaders, because I guess they believe if they were going to vote, these are the people who will vote. And so they want to replace all of them with their lackeys in the counties. I really hope the Restoration Council is listening to this. The Restoration Council cannot be replacing any candidates at this moment in that chamber. If they are serious, they cannot be replacing anybody in that chamber right now. And nobody should be replaced in the counties and in the LGAs. Nobody, no county chair should be replaced at this moment. No LGA chair should be replaced at this moment, ladies and gentlemen. That is what should happen, and the power is yours, Ambazonians, to make sure this happens, to make sure this struggle is not hijacked by business people. All right. I am going to open the phone lines right now and take your calls. Again, the detailed presentation that I promised doing today, that will come to you, ladies and gentlemen, possibly on Wednesday. Comrades, we cannot allow few people to destroy this struggle. They will call you enablers. They will call you Political Cameroon agents. They will call you black legs. Nothing should deter you. We have not gone this far, ladies and gentlemen. We have not gone this far to let a few people hijack it and destroy it. We cannot allow that to happen. And many of these people who are doing this, they have not lost a brother in this war. They have not lost a sister, a father, a home in this war. They don't have a brother or a sister who is there in the bush fighting. No, they have lost nothing. But for all of you out there who have lost homes, lost brothers, lost children, we cannot see a few business people hijack this struggle to make profit out of it. If they were not making profit, ladies and gentlemen, tell me if they are doing the same volunteer work that I am doing here. Tell me, why would they not want to stand for election? Why would they now tell us the Constitution is no good? Why? Why do they want to consolidate and not listen to the cry of Ambazonians? We will not let that happen. I'll open the phone lines and take your phone calls. Please, before you call, make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you shut down the volume of your television set. One of the appointees is just sending a note to me. One of the SACO's appointees just sending a note to me and asking me, ladies and gentlemen, have you seen this trash? Again, that is being sent to me by one of SACO's appointees who is in the current cabinet list. Just send a note. Have you seen this trash? All right. I open the phone lines, ladies and gentlemen. Denis Atem, I guess is still, I believe is still with me. I believe he's still with me. Mr. Denis, are you still there, sir?
I'm there, please.
All right, thank you. I will have you please stay put. Let's open the phone lines. I know many people may have questions for you to take. Let's see what Ambazonians are thinking. The phones are shouting here. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Chris.
Hello, sir. May I know where you are calling from, please?
Yeah, I'm calling from Kumba.
Thank you. And what is your contribution?
Yeah, Mr. Chris, I'm trying to see that this circle of a thing, our presidency was not made for him. If he was pure and genuine, all these controversies that have been going around, all these accusations, if he has nothing to gain, he would have stepped down and let the people say, no, come back, Mr. Sako. All the same politics that they're doing up and down, sacking people, bring this. We are just telling the Restoration Council, if they don't want this revolution to fail, we don't want to listen to that name. Yeah. That is guilt. He's fighting to stand where? Is it his father's property? Yeah, there have been so much problems. Step down and let the people put you back. The fact that he rejected election and is making all the ways to stay there, he will never stay. We are telling anybody that is in this revolution that Sako will never be the president again. He must step down. Yeah, if they like, they twist it. Go to any county. The handwriting has been written. We have seen his intentions. He has very bad intentions and greed. This is the type of strong people that we don't want to build in this revolution. Yeah, if he was a good person, he would have dropped down and let the population be crying that no, Mr. Sako should come back. All his motives that he's struggling to be there, we are not fools. We have benefit system. We are not French people. We are not sardine eaters. We are not hand clappers. So, Mr. Sako, wherever you are, we are just passing you this information. If you think this is the way you want to manipulate people, the CPDM system, and stay in power, we don't care what Chris is saying. We are judging from our own perspective. We also have people that we are talking to in the Restoration Council. We are not even listening to Chris Anu. We have been getting all the people. You are really a bad man, Mr. Sako, and you must go down. There is no way you will stay in this presidency. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the call. You remain safe out there. Before I get back to the phones, ladies and gentlemen, I just received this note from a lawyer that is highly respected in the Ambazonian community, and he writes, the purported appointments by Sako of persons involved in Saudi financial deals exposes his attempts to escape accountability. That is very right. Again, the purported appointments by Sako of persons involved in Saudi financial deals exposes his attempts to escape accountability. Sako declassified information which exposed financial impropriety by him and Frank Chinye. You have challenged them, he's referring now to me, you have challenged them to submit themselves and to an accountable process. He has not done so, but purport to appoint the same Frank, ladies and gentlemen, to the Department of Defense. They were already running a network diverting money which should have gone to prosecute the war through their network. He has merely attempted to legitimize it through an illegal appointment. Martin Mungwa, the one who wrote that letter saying, Chris, you cannot be saying you went out for an audit, ladies and gentlemen, who is also in the circle of the Bitcoin cartel, is now who was deputy comptroller among the audit team, which he audited. He was there on a mission which failed when he discovered your name was not on ABC TV bank accounts. Yes, he is the one who sent out a statement saying the audit is not complete and that you should not inform Ambazonians that you were before the audit team. Sako purports to appoint him Secretary of Communication, underpinning the conspiracy by him and his cabal to tamper, obstruct the call for accountability by an overwhelming majority of Ambazonians. In a normal setting, he writes, the appointments will demonstrate a conflict of interest. Sako violates the decision of the Restoration Council, yet purports to notify the Council of the fraudulent appointments which are null and void. He says, all right, let me get back to the phones, ladies and gentlemen. The phone lines are open. Go ahead and get your calls in. Let's get this one coming from Maryland. Hello. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm calling from Maryland.
Okay, and what is your take on these issues, sir?
because, like, if I called the letters you just read, that is one of the best letters I've ever heard ever since the struggle started. First, I have a couple of questions, and this goes to your panelists. One, he said we are not leaving La République because there are some tendency that we're going to carry from La République into the new found Ambazonia, which I don't understand, because he made mention in quotes that we are fighting for independence based on the fact that we just want to be ourselves, but which is totally wrong. For example, if I have a foster parent who treats me really good more than my own father, why should I go back to my own father? If I have a foster parent who can treat me better than my own father, is it because I should go back to my father because he's my biological father? That's one question. Number two, I believe secretary positions are constitutional, and anybody who changes a secretary and replace it with another must be sworn in by the Constitutional Council, true of us. And so if those people have not been sworn in by the Constitutional Council, then they are not in power or position to even assume any position inside the interim government. So I believe all those who still maintain their position that were sworn in by the Restoration Council should maintain their position and do not hand over any book or document to the new appointees except they are constitutionally sworn in by the Restoration Council.
All right. All right. Thank you. Let me allow Denis to maybe make a response to your first to your question. Please, Denis, make it really brief so we can take other callers, please. Thank you. Thanks for the call.
Yes. I just want to explain this again. Your position is like that of someone who tells you that, oh, good governance will solve this problem. So people say, oh, yes, if La Republique starts treating us well, this and that, then we will stop it. No, you see, this is not a problem that good governance can resolve. If good governance could resolve it, the whole world will be one country. America and Canada will be one country because there's good governance. Or you could suppose that England will hand over itself to France because of good governance, or France hands over itself to Britain because of good governance. No, my brothers. I want us to understand why we are fighting, because from what you are saying, it shows me that we are completely mistaken. We are not fighting for good governance. No, this is not why we are fighting. No. Would Cameroon hand over itself to Nigeria if there were good governance in Nigeria? I want you people to answer that question for me. So I want us to understand that we are not talking about good governance here. It is not about good governance. Whether there is good governance in La Republique or not, we will want our own country, because La Republique has absolutely no right over our own country. Chris, I can't hear you. Hello, Chris, I can't hear you. Hello, Chris, I can't
sorry.
hear you.
Hold on, please. Hold on. Dennis, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got muted here, but I was saying that, yes, we may not be fighting solely for good governance, but it is part of the package. We cannot avoid that. Hello.
Yeah, am I?
Yes, you are live now. Go on. Where are you calling from? Germany?
Yeah, from Leverkusen, Germany.
Okay, what is your contribution?
Yeah, I just want to make some comment on what you and your guests were, the show we were talking today concerning the referendum.
Yes.
I think the guests on this point, I think it's okay for us to put the referendum as an option while putting real firepower on the ground. Because at the end, I think we can go to a referendum conducted among Southern Cameroonians. Okay. Talking about the vetting process, you already mentioned it because I just wanted to talk about those new appointees not vetted by the Restoration Council, and the Restoration Council are not supposed to vet them because of their prior letter that they send that there should be no appointment. Then, now, the question I want to ask the guest is, he's from the Advisory Council, and he mentioned that no matter what type of advice they give to the president, he is not bound to heed to the advice. So is he saying that that organ is a useless organ that should be scrapped? Then, to you, Secretary Chris, we know that we have to disband this present government. Can you please tell the Ambazonian people who is going and how are we going to disband this present government? Then, I've realized that there are two important personalities in this IG. The Vice President and the Restoration Council President. I want to know whether they are allergic to microphones because in this wanting time, we've not heard them.
Yeah.
We've not heard their voices to know where they belong. They are so mute that we think they have an allergy. I don't know. They cannot speak up. They cannot talk to the Amazonian people so that we know them. We know their position. We hear their voices. And so that we should be encouraged or be discouraged for what we should do. Secretary Chris, I want to thank you also for the job that you've been doing. You are doing a marvelous job. Jehovah bless you. That's all I have for today.
Thank you, sir. I will be talking to the Vice President and leader of the Restoration Council to see if they can come on the ABS one of these days. The only problem is the chair of the Restoration Council will always tell you, we're in the middle of investigation and I don't want to talk about it. They give those excuses to stay away. But listen, I think Ambazonians have to really start going after them until they begin to do the right thing. Let's get to the next caller here. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Chris.
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Turkey.
Okay. What is your question, sir?
Yeah.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay. I want to greet you all. Yeah, I have a worries here. You asked a question to the panelists. You asked him a question concerning the referendum that most of the La Republic people, they have flooded our counties. That they are maybe in Moyoka,
Right.
Some are in Bamenda,
Right.
and if voting comes up, how are they going to handle such a case? Even some of them even have a birth certificate that are registered in Ambazonia.
Right.
So you hardly distinguish them from the real Ambazonian. So, but he never really answered that question well. I want him to tell us because that is a very complex issue. And then secondly, I really want to, the case of Dr. Sako, I think right from my trip to Boya, he has amassed a lot of wealth. That he should have much money in his account. That's why I think he's using it maybe to bribe people, to close the mouth of people. And you see some of those women in the IG that we look at them to be responsible women. Some of them are not really responsible. I think some of them too are really feeding fat. You see, some of them act like they are concerned with the county chair, something like that. Contributions come into them. Some of their friends send contributions to them. Some of them are benefiting a lot. That is why you see them keep on supporting the wrongs.
Yeah, some of them are within the Bitcoin cartel, and they then use their influence on other women, and that is why you see women also, they are trying to get women to put out emotion of support.
Exactly.
Now they have a forum called Friends of the President.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. There's this last question. Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go on, please.
Okay. You asked a question concerning Dr. Sako's attitude, the unruly behavior to the panelists, but the panelist was really like dangling and not really like open, and that is somebody you call somebody who is abreast, who is used to constitutional law. I'm surprised. Why is it that people cannot call a spade a spade? Why is it that we keep on covering things? You see, he knows, he's aware of all the ills of Dr. Sako. Why is it that he cannot call a spade a spade? Then even somebody like this man, that barrister John Fu, that we respected a lot, that's somebody that was supposed to sit like an advisor to people. But he is instead vying for position. Look at that, somebody that his age is 70 and above. What is he fighting for? It means he too, I don't know, it's really a shameful situation.
All right, let's allow him to respond to your comment there. Thanks for the call. Dennis, please, briefly.
Thank you, Mr. Caller. Let me say that I answered that question clearly, but you did not follow. Let me repeat it again. The question you're asking is how do we prevent infiltration from citizens of La République du Cameroon? I mentioned that, first of all, let us go back to other referenda that have been organized with the involvement of the international community, such as in South Sudan, in Eritrea, in East Timor. You will see that the home government never plays the same role it plays in its domestic elections. So, first of all, the Cameroon identity cards may not be used or will not be used. Secondly, we can do the registration on the basis of LGA by LGA. Thirdly, that will mean that nobody can come to Bafut and pretend that he's from Bafut when he's not a Bafut person. The Bafut people will know him. So if we do the registration on the basis of LGA by LGA, we will prevent most of the infiltration. In the towns like Kumba, Victoria, and Boya, we may decide that all the traditional meetings there from the Southern Cameroons will register themselves, and through those meetings, their own people from their own area will register for the election. That will also exclude them. First of all, even the identity cards, we said that for eligibility, we can agree on the period when someone who was permanently settled in the Southern Cameroon can become eligible. For example, we can say that if you were permanently settled in the Southern Cameroons from 1960, you may be eligible. From 1956, whatever. If we say that if your two parents are from Southern Cameroon and natives of the Southern Cameroons, you can register. Of course, there is a way to sort out all those who are not permanently registered.
It's easier said than done, sir. As I
No,
said,
it is done because it has been done in
because
other
we don't have
referenda.
control
They are not
yet.
new.
Unless the UN takes over that process and put the modalities on the table. Because what you are
Of
trying to say
course.
now is, let's start this education now. Let's start preparing people now. But without
course, we
the,
should.
but, with-
We
but
should.
without
We
the
should.
right modalities there, some UN
should.
endorsement and mechanism, these things,
No,
will
we
be very,
should.
very corrupt. But let's get a next
No,
caller
we
here,
should
please.
not
Let's
wait
give
until
callers some
UN
time to ask their
before we
questions.
do that.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, good evening, Secretary Chris. I am calling from Bafoussam in La République du Cameroon.
Okay, and what is in your mind, sir?
There are a few things I would have loved you, Secretary Chris, and your panelists to define for people on ground zero to understand. Because to the best of my understanding, who is the chair of an LGA? I think the chair of an LGA is like the mayor of a constitution or the mayor of a subdivision. And if the chairperson of an LGA, whom we consider the mayor on ground zero, is elected by the people, then how can the president replace the chairperson of an LGA? The next question I would like to define is, who is a county leader? A county leader, to me, I want to believe it is like the senior divisional officer in the system of administration in which we are in Cameroon. And this senior divisional officer who heads a division, for example, Lebialem County, is elected. This senior divisional officer is elected by the mayors of the various LGAs. How then can this county leader, who is the SDO, elected by the mayors of the LGA, be replaced by the president? Because that happened in the Menomo County, in Menomo, in Mogamo.
The president, he doesn't directly do it. The way it works is he sends his operatives, and often in the case of Momo, led by Irene Ngwa, they go there. I remember the case of Menemo, for instance. One Saturday morning, behold, there is a Menemo meeting called by, quote unquote, the people. And the next thing is a vote of no confidence on the chairman. The chairman is then replaced by an interim. And then the interim is the one who has just written a motion of support to the head of state. You look at the case of Ngui, which sparked this whole thing. They went to Ngui, conducted an election. There are regulations to follow. Right there in that place, they kept the regulations aside and brought in people who have never been seen in Ngui. In their meetings, their LGA meetings, they voted and left, ladies and gentlemen. Since then, when Ngui calls for meetings, they have 12 people, they have 13 people in those meetings. And so the practice just continues. That's the way they do it. They send their surrogates, use their surrogates to do so.
Yes, because I will really plead that you people take time and define who are these people in the interim government, so that people on ground zero should understand that the chairperson of an LGA is like their mayor and cannot be replaced or cannot be given a vote of no confidence at any moment. Because if people on ground zero understand this terminology, I tell you, they will kick against Sako.
Yes, and
I want you to really, yes, I wish you really define what is the Restoration Council. I think the Restoration Council is like the parliament of the interim government. It's like the National Assembly of the interim government.
You are correct.
And who are these people who sit? Yes, who are these people who sit in the Restoration Council? They are now the county leaders who move to sit in the Restoration Council.
Right.
Those are my definitions.
All right. Thank you. We'll spend some time in the days ahead to talk about those things and clearly define them for Ambazonians to understand exactly what they do and what their role should be. And one of the things that we've also seen recently is the president walking to the counties and saying, you're no longer going to be there for 2 years, your tenure is going to be for 1 year. And yet, who is defining his tenure? The Restoration Council is supposed to do it, but then the Restoration Council is, their constitution is flawed, according to the president. Let's get to the next caller here. I guess this is Houston. Hello.
Hi, Secretary Chris.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you 5 on 5. What is in your mind?
Thank you. So I have a question to Mr. Denis.
Okay.
Mr. Denis, you were made an advisor to the president because the president judged that you could give him good advice. And you made your statement that you give the advice to the president, and the president has the obligation to take it or not. The question I'm asking you is, if you judge that the advice you are giving to the president is necessary for our revolution, and the president does not respect it, don't you think you should resign for the interest of Ambazonia?
All right, good question.
Secondly, now let's see things the way they are going. Things are not going well, and you stand as an advisor. Don't you think all the blame we put on the president, you also have to carry some of those blame because you failed to do your job. Then let me make a comment respecting Momo.
Briefly, sir. Briefly, yes, go on.
You know, when I look at the situation in Mogamo and Momo, I'm surprised, and I've asked this question on many forums. The only LGA that our restoration fighter have refused working with the interior government, and they are being controlled by an individual with the presence of an LGA chair. How come about would that president of that LGA become now the president of Momo after being failed, after he has failed the LGA when he was controlling that, he was unable to control the guys? How come would he rise now to the position of Mogamo, Momonomo area where he need to control the upper side when he was unable to control what was at his position? That's my question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. The very first question, Dennis, you have been advisor to the president, and the caller is asking, why didn't you resign when you felt like your advice isn't being taken or considered?
Well, there are issues on which one could resign. There are issues on which one may not resign. We didn't think that it had come to that a position where we would resign, but we were planning some action at the advisory council to try to move things forward when things escalated as they have escalated now. But we didn't take it negligently. People must know that we had some heated debates with the president in the advisory council on how the advisory council was functioning. So, as I've said, those are not things to be discussed in public because there's some level of discretion that one should exercise in these matters.
Classified, okay. All right, thank you. And it is also important, I note here, ladies and gentlemen, that the president also recently removed his own executive advisor, the head of the team at the presidency to which Denis Atem belonged. The head of the Presidential Advisory Committee was recently removed by the president because of the problem that Denis has mentioned. The president will not listen to, will often not take the advice being given him. So that is in their defense. Hello. Hold on, please. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Secretary Grace, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from UAE.
UAE, United Arab Emirates. Okay, what is your question or comment, sir?
First of all, I want to thank you, and I want to thank your parliament around you. I don't have any question to add on this, but there is something I want to say that will be very, very special. Okay. What I want to tip in is that I would like to say concerning about the struggle for us. There is this thing we need to understand. We need to understand something. I will prefer to my own idea that from now henceforth, power should go back to ground zero, because that is the only way. Because normally, diaspora, people see it takes a little moment for someone to be very genuine, to become somebody else. We trusted President Sako, we believe in him, but unfortunately, we see as things go on, he changes. No matter how we try to make a new government, people can still change. We don't know how tomorrow may occur. People can still change. If there is no diaspora today and the fighters on ground can still fight, but if the fighters on ground stop, then diaspora can no longer push them for them to continue the fight. So we would prefer that all the power should go back to ground zero. Secretary, people are dying in daily basis. people feed on, I don't even know how to explain. People don't even have something to eat. They will see people in diaspora investing on bitcoins and so on, using money for their own foolish purpose and so on. And then some will come in ABC and start fooling others that Secretary is doing this one is doing this, calling people such kinds of names just for their own interest to gain Ambazonia. They should not continue keep fooling us. We know that they are investing on their bitcoins. Chako is no longer the president. I don't even know why we are even calling him the president.
No, we are calling him outgoing president because until the Restoration Council impeaches him, he still has 6 months to work with them until election. But let me address this. Hold on, comrade. Let me address this Ground Zero leadership question that has arisen in the past few weeks. This is what I think. The engine that drives this revolution is in the diaspora, and the engine is money, and it is Ambazonian diaspora. The people who are in the forefront making sure that what comes from diaspora works are the fighters on Ground Zero. What the fighters on Ground Zero do comes with lots and lots of responsibility. We have seen the abuses on the ground, the abductions, the ransom takings, you name the rest. I do not support the idea, and I was talking to Prince Jeka the other day, and I said, listen, between Ground Zero and the diaspora, there is need for these checks and balances. When people are kidnapped on the ground, when ransoms are taken on the ground, the people hold the diaspora responsible because of county by county. Ground Zero knows that the fighters on the ground are sponsored by their counties, and so those fighters should be responsible to their county to the extent that when things begin to go wrong, Ground Zero can call the county to say, hey, why is this going on? Why are abductions going on? Why is ransom taking going on? If you leave it all in the hands of Ground Zero without any good structures, who do you call? They are soldiers. They don't care when you call them and say, hey, where is my brother? Where is my father? But now, at the moment, they can call their counties in the diaspora to say, listen, my brother was picked up, my sister was picked up, my uncle was picked up, and the counties in the diaspora can get back to the fighters in their counties, in the ground, and say, hey, why are you keeping this person? Why did you pick this person? So we need this kind of balance. For at the moment, Ground Zero doesn't have, we cannot give that authority, that power entirely to the fighters on the ground. Our own is not a rebel movement. Our own is a struggle to take back our country until we have some kind of, until we have some kind of, until we have some kind of management, administrative management on the ground. I just will not advocate the idea of Ground Zero taking over without a leadership there. And putting together a leadership and putting a leadership on the ground isn't going to be overnight. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, Secretary. I
Yes.
want to add to something. I want to add something to that. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Go on.
Yeah, what I want to say is that if we make sure that we build out a new government, that means automatically we should make sure we put things in place. We don't want people that will come and later on change and start investing on issues on Bitcoin and so on. We should make sure that we build a new government that we fight and stand for Ambazonia. Secretary, people are dying every day. That is why we keep on saying that power should go back to Ground Zero. But if power should not go back to Ground Zero, then we should put everything in order. We should listen.
I totally agree with you that we get things arranged, bring in new leadership in the diaspora, but also to add to that, that power in the diaspora should always rotate. And I mean, rotate in the sense that these elections are important because that's the only way you test the performance of a leader. If a leader is doing good, why should he be removed? Right? If a leader is doing good, test his performance through election, wins it 20 times, so be it. But you have a situation now where you have leaders who are investing your money in their personal businesses, and then now they want to sit tight. They don't even want elections. They don't want to test. They don't want their performances to be tested through an election. That is the problem. All right, thank you for the call, please. I will allow Dennis to chip in something here, especially in this area of ground zero leadership. Dennis, please, 1 minute.
No, Chris, I totally agree with you that the diaspora has a very important role to play in this revolution. It cannot be fought only by ground zero or by the diaspora. In every revolution and every difficult situation like this, you need a safe haven for those who coordinate. You saw in the Second World War, De Gaulle had to escape to England. In so many other situations, the Shah of Iran had to also escape to go to the United States and so on. So you find so many other places where the leaders must escape the oppressive environment in the ground to be able to think and coordinate those who are fighting. So this is the same thing. And so I totally agree with Chris that we need the diaspora to provide the engine while the ground zero fights to gather the money, to coordinate. Things may have gone wrong, but I want Ambazonians to be careful, to be confident that with their determination we will succeed. I don't want anybody to be discouraged to say, oh, things are going wrong. No, things will always go wrong. If you compare our own revolution to other revolutions, you see that we have done excellently well for this short period of time. So let us try to get things under control by trying to resolve the current problems and refocus on the war to defend our territory and get the enemy to agree to a solution. I think we can do that. So nobody should contemplate anything at all other than to refocus on the struggle and see it move forward.
Absolutely. Thank you. That is the point. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Chris. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Germany, sir. I'm calling from Germany.
Okay, and what is your contribution?
Okay, a very fast one. I don't want to say that I heard many people saying, oh, what is happening in La Republique is happening in Ambazonia. Yes, it's just exactly what is happening in La Republique, which is happening now in Ambazonia. A leader wants to stay there forever. A leader doesn't want to go for election. A leader is trying to co-op and all the rest. We are seeing all those similarities. But in no instance, that should not discourage Ambazonia to fight for the struggle. We had my trip to Boya, and there were a lot of irregularities when it comes to my trip to Boya. I myself, I contributed a lot of money for that, but that did not stop me to also go on with draft. So when we try this, it fails, we have to go to another strategy, how we can amend it. Like what the counties head they did. It's a very good strategy that they should stop giving money to the central government, because central government is so suspicious and there are a lot of bad information or fraudulent information coming from the central government that people should give their money in their county or LGAs. I think those are some strategies which we should try. So all of these things that are happening should not discourage Ambazonia, because we have left the Republic and it is for our independence. Nothing on earth should stop us. Now, one question I have for your panelists is I don't know why a constitutionalist, I don't know how they say it, but my question for him is, can vis-a-vis what is happening now in the interim government, and we see some action carried on by the sitting president, Dr. Sako, and he is there as one of the advisors. Is he telling us that the action of the sitting president are advised by him or him and his members for the president to do what we are seeing right now, because we are seeing disunity, he's not able to bring us together. So is he part of the advisory board who is encouraging our president to do such a thing, keeping us in disarray?
I think he has answered that question. He said no, they tried their best, but the president wasn't obliged to take all of their advice. I hope I'm correct.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're correct. You're correct.
All right, thank you. Let's get to the next question here. Let's get to the next caller. Okay, this is ground zero. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Good evening, Secretary Chris.
Good evening, ma'am. May I know where you are calling from, please?
I'm calling from La Republic, sir.
You are calling from La Republique. All right. Tell us what is in your mind.
All right, sir. I'm really happy for the show. I'm really happy and grateful and thankful to God for you, Secretary Chris, for all what you are doing. It's only God that will highly reward you. I really thank you again for making us on your shows to know the patriotic Ambazonians and the Ambazonians that are sheep in wolf clothing. We really thank you for that. Then I want to go to the Restoration Council. That if this revolution fails us, they will also have their own share to be blamed.
They will have a very big share.
The
They will have a big share.
all what the SACO has been doing, the Restoration Council has never called SACO to order. The Restoration Council cannot pass a communique that he should not appoint nor sack. And he's doing that, and nothing has been done by the Restoration Council, which is too poor. Too poor. SACO cannot go around intimidating people, looking for people to send him motion of support, and the Restoration Council is quiet. Too poor. It's a shame. It's a shame. If we fail in this revolution,
Hold on there, comrade. The worst one is when the Restoration Council sits there and thinks that SACO can now begin to replace people in that same Restoration Council without elections anywhere, in the midst of chaos. In the midst of chaos. There should be a moratorium that says no appointments, no elections across the board in the LGAs, in the counties. We are not admitting any new person or taking out any person from within the council. I think that's what they're supposed to be doing at this moment. Yes, go on.
Chris, that is what I said. If we fail in this revolution, the president will not be the only one to be blamed. SACO will not be the only one. The Restoration Council too. It seems as if the Restoration Council is a pet of SACO. I don't know. I don't know whether is it another spirit that is moving in that Restoration Council or it's what? I don't really know. Because the Restoration Council calls SACO to order. Whatever move that SACO is taking during this time of 6 months, during this period of 6 months, which is taking already a lot, they are supposed to do everything to see that he does not appoint nor sack anybody. Because one, if he appoints one person, they are supposed to tell him that we will not recognize that person that you are appointing. If he sacks one person, they are supposed to tell him that we will not recognize what you are doing. Because if the Restoration Council, even on one occasion, has even mentioned that to him, at least SACO will have adjusted.
I think in their defense, I think they have done that by the statement they put outside. The statement is a witness. I think what we are waiting to see what they do is how they then follow up on the violations. The statement is out there already. Now there are violations. The question is, what are they going to do? Let's wait to see when they meet on Saturday. You have any other question?
Yeah, let us wait and see what they'll do on that Saturday. And then I also want to talk to the people that are sending motion of support to SACO, that they should be careful. Maybe they have taken a token, and that token that they have taken will not do them anything.
No, the people sending motions of support are people within the Bitcoin circle, leading the counties. I can tell you, I think Menemo, the present leader of Menemo is one. The leader of Santa, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, the leader of Santa, who was the first to send a motion of support to SACO, is actually one of the biggest agents within that circle. We all know them. Chinje, somebody, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Chinje. Then Chinje, the one of Santa is called Chinje somebody. The one of Ngo Ketunja, who is a kingpin, the person who is actually transferring all the funds, ladies and gentlemen, signed, the requisitions signed by Sako, is this guy called Frank Chenye of Ngo Ketunja. I can go on and name the rest. When you see the names, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And Ambazonians, you can investigate for yourselves. Look at Sako's cabinet appointees. They are all interconnected in this business chain, Bitcoin chain. All right. Thank you for the call. Yes?
And then the Sako cabal should come down. The Sako cabal should come down. Completely, all of them, they should come down. And then to the restoration fighters, they should be careful sending motion of support, because the token they have taken now to send in motion of support, by the moment that they will not abide to what the president will say, the next step, the president will turn around on them, just like what Troyaba was doing with other fighters. So they should be careful. They should not sell themselves, nor their rights, nor their sufferings for how many years for a small token. And then please, Secretary, please, I'll plead that you should call me after I have something to tell you personally.
All right, let me see what your number is. Can you text me your number, please? Text me your number so that, just text me and remind me that you want me to call you, please. Thank you. Thanks for the call. All right. Let's get to the next caller here from Ground Zero. Hello, sir. Hello, I think this is a bad connection. Let's get to the next caller. This is Maryland. Hello, sir. Hello.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon also to your guest, Mr. Atem.
Okay.
Yeah. Am I online now?
You are live, sir. You are calling from Maryland, right?
Yes.
Okay, go on. Make your contribution.
Okay,
1 minute.
Yeah, starting with the referendum and the Swiss talks. You know, I can see from the two of you, as you try to debate the issues, I can see that you are getting blocked by the fact that we are not doing enough on the ground. We are not doing enough on the ground, fighting enough on the ground to get to know which option to take. That's one of the things. And another issue is that your guest was talking about we can go to other referendums that have taken place and see what they did. I thought that those are things that before making a choice, you should have gone around to start prospecting what yours can look like, and don't say you go. This is the issue of Ambazonia, because we always like to start something, but we take time. We take time so long that before even the time gets ripe, we are almost like not getting to know what we are supposed to do, and this pulls us back so much.
All right. Yeah, Thank you. Let me allow him to comment on that briefly, please. All right. Thank you. Dennis, please.
Unfortunately, I didn't get exactly what our caller wanted me to comment about. He thought that we are blocked by the fact that we think that Ground Zero is not doing enough. I don't think so. Let me just straighten out the issues. We said that we are calling for the intensification of action on Ground Zero as the only way that has been throughout history to force the colonial mentality to change, or to even encourage other kinds of minds in that country to take over power, because currently the warmongers are controlling power in that country, and they are benefiting from the war, and they don't want it to end, and even their own citizens don't want the war, but nobody can organize an opinion poll in that country to know how many people actually support the war. We have said that. So I think we have tried to explain everything that we thought we had the time to explain. But I don't know exactly the other thing that you were asking. So I cannot really comment much.
All right. All right. Thank you. Let's get to the next caller here. Hello.
Hello.
Please turn down the volume of your set. I can hear the repetition in the background.
Okay. Yeah, I've done that.
All right. This is Dr. Epa, right?
Yes, this is Dr. Epa from Chicago.
From Chicago and a member of the Restoration Council.
Correct.
Full disclosure.
Yes. I want to tell Comrade Atem that the Restoration Council actually was negligent to do what we're supposed to do. But the blame should be more on the president, and that is my position. That I've discussed that on ABC. I also discussed that on ABS. The president knew he had a contract with the Ambazonian people before God, because he was being sworn in, and before the international community, that his term of office was for 2 years. Now, he knew that he was going to be there only for 2 years. But he waited for 2 years when his term of office was already over. That is when they brought the question of election is not in the constitution. Meaning that he had already been planning this issue for 2 years, because he himself stood on ABC before the Ambazonian people and said he didn't want to say no on that day, because if you have an accident with some other person, you just need to be in your car without making any statement until you wait when the police officers come. And that is what he did for 2 years. According to him, maybe the Ambazonian people were fools, and that is my problem. Now, for Mr. Temke to blame the Restoration Council more than the president is not correct.
But I think, Dr. Epa, again, you are a member of the Restoration Council, a very vocal one in that matter. I think you understand why Ambazonians say the Restoration Council is not working. Who will blame Dr. Sako? He is the beneficiary here. If the Restoration Council was supposed to carry out some duties and failed to do it, and the beneficiary say, hey, don't blame it on me. It was your job. Why should he be held accountable for that? You had 2 years after swearing him in. You told him his tenure was 2 years. And after that, it will revert to you to take the next decision. You did not do that.
Correct. That one is correct.
Chris, let me just say something here.
Is carefully
Chris,
and took an oath before the Ambazonian people
Chris,
and decided.
Dennis, hold
let
on,
me
please.
say something.
Dennis, hold on. Yes, go on, Dr. Epa.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go on.
Okay, that was a contract. That was a contract he had with the Ambazonian people before God and in front of the international community. As a president, he did not negotiate, he did not start anything, he did not make any statement. Meaning that this problem that has come on, he was planning it for the 2 years. That is my position. So
all right.
The next thing is, whenever I want to ask Mr. Temken a question. Anybody who goes on ABS is considered La République. Are you now compromised?
Yeah, Dennis, that's a very good question there, because I think you have heard it. If any cabinet member or any government member comes to ABS, it's a black leg. It's a black leg. It's compromised.
No,
are you compromised by
I
being here tonight?
keep reminding everyone to refer themselves to my manifesto. I am in this revolution to serve
I want you to
Ambazonia,
answer me the
not
question.
any
He is
individual.
answering.
And
You can turn on your volume now
yes,
to listen to him, Dr. Epa. Turn on your volume to listen to him.
I keep reminding everyone to read my manifesto. I am in this revolution to serve Ambazonia, and only Ambazonia. And I don't speak for people, and I don't speak about people. I will not mention anybody's name. I don't call anybody's name. If you bring any conversation involving individual names, I will not get involved. Now, I want to propose to the Restoration Council that the Restoration Council should not wait for the president to say, my 2 years is over, I'm stepping down. No, change your rules to say 6 months to the 2 years, you will notify the president and start publicizing the campaign that will take place. Maybe you determine when it will take place at the end of the 2 years. But don't wait for the president to say, I'm stepping down so that you can organize election. No, it doesn't happen like that. Prepare the rules properly, make it known to yourselves and to the Restoration Council members that 6 months to the termination of the president's term, you will notify him formally and launch election campaigns formally so that within that time people prepare for campaigns, and then at the end of the 2 years you do the campaigns. This is how it's supposed to be. But don't blame the interim for sitting there and waiting. And if you didn't even mention, he will just continue, isn't it? You think he will sack himself and call you to come and organize the election? No, it doesn't happen like that. It is the body that is supposed to organize the election that should take the initiative here, not the president. So let us make it clear, if it is not in the Restoration Council rules, please include that element there so that you guide yourself properly.
All right, Dennis, let's get back to the lines here. Again, I will still say that even though I will question the Restoration Council really hard, the president equally has the same blame. It's 50-50. He was, in conjunction with the Restoration Council, supposed to have gone back to that document to revise it to fix what they believe. He believes is wrong in it, but anyway, we are over that now. We're working on that. Let's get to the next caller here. I have a member of the Restoration Council who is also waiting online. Hello, sir.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for picking my call, Secretary Chris.
Thank you. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Europe, from Sweden precisely.
All right. And what is your contribution?
Yeah, my contribution is goes thus, Secretary Chris. What I was preoccupied with is first and foremost, I think this issue of government is a very great idea, but I don't think it's going to really work. Why do I say so? I say so because we are like doing one and the same thing. We are replicating one and the same strategy, expecting different outcomes. I don't know if you want to do one and the same experiment in the lab and you're expecting super different answers, then that is not going to give you a perfect hypothesis in what you're trying to do. For example, we started this issue when it came up to the government and we made Siku Ayoktabe the president. We all saw it when Siku Ayoktabe said, anybody who wants to think that he's above the revolution is going to be put under the bus. That's what he said. But when it came the time for him to be put under the bus, he was not accepted to go under that bus.
Okay.
We finally got rid of him, in a clandestine way, because I say so because he still he hung on.
He still has a function. Yes, you're right.
So we were trying to accommodate the issues like a brother, but it has always been friction between the 2 and 3, and the age of C is coming in between and trying to do some dirty politics too. Then we created a legitimate government, which is an IG, and we made the president who was interim that time, the president, who accepted that he's going to be here for 2 years, and after 2 years, he's going to see the Ambazonia people who are going to decide through a universal suffrage to decide who is going to take the country forward. Before that, he promised us, give me 2 million and I will land into Boya. That didn't work with my trip to Boya. Any decent person will say, oh, this thing, I raise my hands, please, it's enough. Someone else can take the baton away from me and continue. He didn't do that. He said, okay, give me another chance. They gave me another chance. Draft. Everyone knew that. I, for one, knew that draft is going directly to the counties. I didn't know draft is going to go to the government treasury. From the treasury, then it goes to the counties. That is the same track we were taking again. It was like a different road leading to the same destination of my trip to Boya. Okay, that aside, we have created this government now. The government has worked for 2 years. It has come to the time that we have to do our elections to show the world that we have a democratically run government. The guy who is there says there's nowhere in the constitution that says, but he swore. There's nowhere in the constitution that says I have to be here for 2 years. So I'm living here till Boya. That's what he said. Okay, then now we said that don't do any, because I'm saying we because the Restoration Council represents the people through Amba Peace Plan. That is the overall power. So if you say that you are not going, it means that you want to create another government. If he says, I am staying here, I defy the Restoration Council, I don't take any orders from the Restoration Council, I don't listen to them. Donald Trump tried to do this in America, and today we all see they are prosecuting everybody that was in the January 6th coup to break it. So I'm just like saying that if we like impeach him, he's going to do the same thing like Ayoktabe. So it's like we are doing the same thing, creating another government and expecting different results. I just want to make it short here by saying that I think politics right now is a very, very bad action. It's a very bad strategy. I wish that we should do something which looks like a government, but not really like a government, but it looks like a revolutionary something that has to do with the leadership.
Okay.
That any there, I don't want any election, we understand.
Okay.
It's a revolution, it's a rebel.
All right. Comrade, any day. Listen, let me say this. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think government is the problem. The idea of government, I don't think the idea of government is the problem. The problem is the inability of individual living in civilized societies, in democracies, their inability to practice same. This problem will not be at this level of escalation if the president just said, you know what, you want elections? I'm ready to stand election, right? So, it is not the government that is the problem. It is individuals that do not want to follow institutions they swore to. Thank you for the call. Let me get to the next caller here, who is a member of the Restoration Council. I hope she hasn't dropped the call. Oh, she dropped the call, I guess. Let me see if I can get her back online. Let me see I can get her back online. Oh. Okay, let me see. Hello.
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 Yes, Secretary. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Thanks for the call. Calling from London, member of the Restoration Council, correct?
Correct, very correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Secretary Chris, I just have something to say because I don't know what has gotten over Ambazonians. When they talk about elections, I get confused because this is not the first election the president was supposed to stand for. This election that the Restoration Council has called is supposed to be the third election the president is running for. Does it mean that he ran for the first two elections before reading the Constitution? Secretary, remember the president contested in his first election with you to become acting president. Does it mean he never read the Constitution before standing for that election when Sisiko was abducted? And then again, when the Restoration Council called for the second election, where he was promulgated from acting president to president, doesn't mean as acting president president, he never read the constitution. So what I'm trying to say is that Ambazonians
Please, I can't hear you. There's so much noise from that side of me. I can't hear anything from here. I can't hear anything.
All right. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I ran out of battery power here in the microphone. I hope we are back on now. So please, we are, again, I have here on the line a member of the Restoration Council calling from London and trying to clarify the election that brought Dr. Sako into leadership. So, Anne, go on, please.
Yes, what I was saying is that when you people had the first election, remember then the constitution was there, left by His Excellency Sisiko. So he won to become the acting president. And when Sisiko was impeached, we then decided to organize elections, and the cabinet nominated the president and presented him as their own candidate. He stood for the elections, and then only because other candidates did not show up, that is when he was the sole candidate that was voted in the House. And because we did not just want to say he is president, we actually said he should be duly elected, and the over.
Hello.
The president. And then, yeah, are you getting me?
I can hear you now. Go on.
Yeah, so we agree that in the House, since he's the only candidate, we are not just going to go out there and say this is the president. We have to still vote. And he had 2/3 of the votes as we agreed. And that is when he became president. So I'm trying to tell you that even though he was a sole candidate for the second elections, he actually presented his candidature. Do you mean that as acting president, he never knew the constitution? Or do you mean that only after he became the president, before he read the constitution?
Well, he has said that when you have an accident, you have to sit in the car and wait until the policeman arrives, so you don't have to say anything. I guess it is beneficial to whoever the victim is, right?
No, but that Ambazonia should ask this question. This is not his first elections. He actually ran for 2. This is supposed to be he's afraid that people will not vote him.
All right. That is coming from you. I guess that would
I am saying that, yes, even though the constitution does not expressly mention election, there are precedents that set rules for that.
Yeah, listen. Just to compliment what you are saying there, the Constitution is very clear. Listen, there are terms of references for the Restoration Council and the the Constitution, I mean to say. There are terms of references for the Restoration Council, and the Constitution actually acknowledges the terms of reference for that Restoration Council. I hope you guys go and read it. Go and read it. And the terms.
I am asking Ambazonians, us Ambazonians, why do we close our ears when we are to listen and open but our eyes? And when it's time to see, we close our eyes and open our ears. Where did we go wrong?
Yeah.
It's just a simple thing. You have run for 2 elections, stand for the third. You will still win. What if you have won the first 2? Why are you freaking out just by at the mention of a third election? What is wrong?
Now that
Ambazonians do not see anything wrong in that, but they see everything wrong in the Restoration Council. Yes, the Restoration Council actually failed woefully to put this in place before time. So it is true, the Restoration Council is late, but it is started it late. But now that they are bringing the Constitution in it, I have this question: does it mean that we had an incompetent president for 2 mandates? Because he has been president for 2 mandates. It's only he's to go in for a 3rd mandate that he really understood the Constitution that he is supposed to uphold as president. CIC.
Now that you are here, let me ask you this: you sent out the Restoration Council. Sent out an injunction, essentially telling the president you cannot make any appointments nor reshufflements within this time that we are in a transition. Now he has defied that, appointing a vice president. Today, he put out a new cabinet list. What is the Restoration Council going to do? What are you going to do? What are you saying?
The Restoration Council is made up of people, great minds, intellectuals, doctors, and people who know what is right and what is wrong. People who use their conscience in this world, who know the right thing, what is wrong and the best thing for this revolution. So I am not in no position to say exactly what the Restoration Council will do, and I don't want anyone out there trying to put pressure on the Restoration Council to do something that is unethical. So I just want the Restoration Council member to say and use their own conscience, use the advice from their own constituencies, and take any decision, but not influenced by any individual secretaries.
Yeah, so, but don't you think Ambazonians have the right to influence the decision of their representatives?
Let the representatives send in their motions to the Restoration Council. We can only see that if they are sent to the Restoration media.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Good to hear your voice. I hope you guys quickly take care of this situation, arrest it, and get the Ambazonian struggle to continue. Thank you. You have a great night. All right. I get the last caller here, ladies and gentlemen. The day is far spent. Let me get to the next caller here, who happens to be Denis Atem's chair at the PAC. They call it Presidential Advisory Committee. I have here on the line Dr. Fidelis Atienjo, who was, ladies and gentlemen, the chair, the chief advisor to the outgoing president, Dr. Samuel Ekome Sako. Hello, sir.
Hello, Secretary Chris.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I am doing excellent. What is in your mind?
Okay, I called Secretary Chris to actually provide some caution to my able colleague whom I respect, Mr. Denis Atem. And I also wish to express my own opinion on certain questions that were raised by concerned Ambazonians. For instance, they ask questions like, why did we not resign? Why have we not taken the blame for what we should take the blame for what the mess and the disaster that President Sako has actually placed on the on our struggle. So I just want to take this opportunity to express to Ambazonians that we of the Presidential Advisory Councils were actually put aside, placed in the corner where nothing was getting out. We served as secretaries, writers. Whenever there was an issue or something, they needed us to write something, they would put us together to write things. There was never a day that the president consulted us on any issue that he was facing as a president. So, Ambazonians, we could not resign from the registration from the Presidential Advisory Council for the simple reason that
were you just stooges, or what do you mean?
Yeah, no, we were not stooges. I'm going to express to Ambazonians what we did. As the members of the of PAC, what happened is that we decided to stay on because we did not want to escape. It's better you stay in the struggle and fight from within than
so
fight from outside.
I made a mistake to walk out of cabinet, you mean?
No, you stated you did not make a mistake to get out as secretary of, you are still the secretary of state for communication.
I thought I'd been fired since.
We as Ambazonians, you stepped out of the cabinet and you did not resign as the secretary of state for communications. We too, we actually stayed in there to actually make things happen. But I just have the pleasure to inform Ambazonians that out of all the members of the Presidential Advisory Council, I was the chair, and I had the opportunity. I was part of the Presidential Office Cabinet Forum. I was part of the Cabinet Forum. I was part of the Restricted Cabinet as well as the Extended Cabinet Forum. I fought a good fight to Ambazonians. I raised concerns on issues that I did not see good to Ambazonians. And that is the reason why I was brutally kicked out of the cabinet forum. I was brutally kicked out of the president's office forum. I was brutally kicked out of the extended cabinet forum. And all attempts to get me out of the APP forum failed because I was protected somehow by good citizens of Ambazonia who see the right thing to be done. Secretary, I wish to appeal that you invite me to your show so that I will say more, because a lot of things are happening in this struggle, and a lot of missteps have been taken by the leadership, which has proven irresponsible, and a group of frauds who have decided to ruin this struggle, and we are not going to sit here and watch them destroy our revolution. Thank you.
I definitely will get you on the show. Let's see, we can do that on Friday. I will get back to you on that.
Yes.
But it was a pleasure to have you, sir. I will let Denis have the last word for the show.
Let me say this, Secretary Chris.
Yes.
I just want to use this opportunity to appeal to the Restoration Council that they have been mandated, according to the terms of reference, which they should go back there and read. They have the powers to guide the administrative branch of this government. The county chairs have already set the pace. They have written to them, acknowledging their own their power and their position in this government. It is now their own time to prove to Ambazonians, to rejuvenate the trust of Ambazonians in what they do to serve them. If they don't do what is right, they should have themselves to blame. If they do what is wrong, they will see that the Ambazonians are going to stand against them. I said this to the Minister of the Secretary of Home Affairs when he came to Ngi after a fraudulent election was conducted in Ngi. I told him, Mr. Secretary, if you take a good decision here in Ngi today, things will be fine. If you take a bad decision here in Ngi today, it is going to balloon and engulf the entire Ambazonia. And today, I'm very happy you stated it that the crisis started in Ngi. What started in Ngi has consumed the entire Ambazonia. You can see it. If he heard my caution, my word of advice to him, he would have taken a good decision. But he did not take a good decision. See where we are. We see illegitimate leaders propping up, a group of people writing letters, especially a letter written by individuals who went and concocted a story where there's the chair of the ethics committee, who is supposed to be neutral, signed. And then the Secretary General of the Restoration Council also signed. What a disgrace. These are people who are supposed to uphold the law, but they decided to stoop low to the point of signing letters heard or conducted or a concocted story
that is
actually by their way. That's a shame.
Yeah, that is one of the problems that we have in the system, in that you have people who should be recusing themselves in situations like the one you mentioned in Ngui, actually at the center of the corruption. The Secretary of the Restoration Council is at the center of the fraud in Momo, ladies and gentlemen. Then you have the appointees of the president in the chair of the ethics committee, who is also in the middle of this, and she is also from Momo. You have what is it? The chair of the so-called IOC, the chair of the Judiciary Committee, all of them, in the middle of this, we've had situations where the president literally writes the reports from the Ethics Committee and give it to the members to affix their signatures to it. We know this because there are members who are telling us this is what is going on. Letters are going out from the ethics committee, not written by that committee, but written by somebody else, and the committee members are asked to affix their signatures to it as deliberations coming out of there. It's a corrupt ring, ladies and gentlemen, and that is why we are telling you, you do nothing, our people will die and will go in vain. My brother is out there in the bush, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to see all this effort go in vain. We don't have a home. We don't have a family, ladies and gentlemen. They are either abroad or they are in the bush fighting. And listen, we cannot let this go. And many of you have the same testimonies. That is why we must fight everybody besides La République du Cameroon who wants to see us fight a loose battle. We will not have that happen. Comrade, I will get back to you to see if you can be here on Friday, and if possible, get some other people in your team who can be part of the show. Thank you for joining, sir.
Sure, Secretary Chris, I will be there.
All right. Dennis, please, you have the last word for the night.
Fellow Ambazonians, I thank Secretary Chris for bringing me on. I want to assure you that no matter what people say, we should rest assured that we will win this struggle. Our own is not new, but every people who took up arms to defend themselves, to get back their territory, they have done so. So these are little confusions that we have now. They will be straightened out and the revolution will continue. The second thing I want to clarify is again why we are fighting. No matter the amount of good governance that is in France, Britain will never surrender its country to France. No matter the amount of good governance that is in America, Canada will never say, oh, just take over my own country because there is good governance there. And so no matter the good governance that is in La République du Cameroon,
Ambazonia will not surrender there. It has never been.
No matter what it is, whether it is good or whatever it becomes, we will never surrender our own country to our neighbor just because of that. We are fighting because no one else other than ourselves owns the territory of Ambazonia. Nobody else. We are the true owners of Ambazonia. Foreigners have come into our land and made us strangers in our own country. We reject that forever, and it will never be like that. We have to change it. La République du Cameroon must leave our territory, no matter what is happening. This is the fundamental reason why we are fighting. We are not fighting because we think that when we come to Ambazonia, there will be no embezzlement, there will be no this or that. No, let us remove that from our minds. Finally, I want to say that the issue of a referendum, it is very important to us as Ambazonians that we put down a solution that is acceptable to the rest of the world. A referendum is a tried and tested solution It has always worked. For us, what we need now is to understand it fully, to prepare ourselves for it, to understand all the details that surround the idea of a referendum and get ourselves ready. Because if La République were to challenge us to a referendum, we will not start running away saying, oh no, we're afraid of this, we're afraid of that. Even the rigging that we're so afraid of, I think we can still study that meticulously and see what is involved in the rigging process. So, therefore, I want to encourage everybody to look at the referendum idea and to pick up where we are and continue with the revolution until we get to Boya. Thank you very much.
All right, so it was a great pleasure having you here. We're going to be having you subsequently in the later programs. Thank you. You have a great night out there. Okay.
Thank you,
ladies and gentlemen, I just like you to know, in spite of the difficulties, in spite of the frustrations we all express, I'd like you to know, listen, we are not giving up. We are not giving up. And Denis is right. We would not say because of poor governance that we are going to give up on our quest for a free and independent Ambazonia. We will go over every odd and fix every problem, ladies and gentlemen, and continue with the fight. That is the reason why I believe you should notice. That's the reason why struggles that should take 5 years, take 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, because people are selfish. People are selfish. We have to stop. I made that parable and I put it in an audio, and I said, hey, if you are making a journey and there is a puncture in one of the tires, you would have to stop to make sure that tire is replaced. Else, if you do not replace it, you may not even get to your location. And that is why the journey you should make in maybe 5 hours ends up taking 8 or 10 hours. That is exactly why, once more, revolutions and struggles go for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But the point is, whether 30 years, we cannot stop it. We just cannot end it. We will change the tires and continue the journey, and for as long as it takes, we have to persevere and continue. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you again, the so-called APP meeting that out of peer pressure, the outgoing president is calling out there. You go there, you legitimize it. It is illegal. The Restoration Council has not sanctioned that. The counties have not sanctioned that. The counties put out a letter recognizing the original, the legitimate APP, Amber Peace Plan Forum, and meetings that come up once every 2 weeks. Now, there is none tomorrow, as I said yesterday. There is no APP meeting tomorrow. The APP meeting is coming up week after this, which is next Thursday. Not tomorrow, but next Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, in the meantime, until I come back on Friday, please, for all of you, make sure nobody is replaced in your local government. Make sure nobody is replaced in your county. Make sure nobody is replaced as your representative at the Restoration Council. We will not allow this gangsterism of politicking to rob us of our right, ladies and gentlemen, to right representation at every level. And the Restoration Council, as our understanding is that you are meeting on Saturday. You are meeting on Saturday. Ambazonians are watching. Ambazonians are watching to see what you do. I'd like to assure all of you Ambazonians, if they will not do the right thing, as one caller has stated, we will get rid of the Restoration Council. Again, if you will not do the right thing, we will get rid of you. The Restoration Council was not there from the beginning. And yet we managed to struggle. If you will not do the right thing, Ambazonians will rally around from all groups, from all corners, and they will hit the reset button if the Restoration Council will not do the right thing. That reset button will be hit, and I bet you we will start it again. But you can save that, ladies and gentlemen. The Restoration Council, you can save that, save this government, and save this struggle. We're looking up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much for tuning in. It was a pleasure to be with you tonight. I look forward to seeing you on Friday. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, you have a great night. Thank you and God bless.